everyone, and welcome to the Renault Vitality GT Sports Show. As you can see in front of me, there are 14 drivers competing in 2 races. Varied amounts of drivers here, from F1 drivers, Esteban Ocon, all the way through to newbies, very new to GT Sport, very new to racing, such as Brokey Brooks and Vitality Robbie. In the commentary booth with me is Lewis Bentley, currently setting up the lobby at the moment, so unable to speak at this moment in time. However, I will take you through some of the drivers just to give you an idea of who is actually competing here in this show. So, of course, Esteban Ocon, the first driver on the list, number 31, racing in both races today. We've got 2 races on the cards. F1 driver, everybody knows who Esteban Ocon is. Literally, watch F1, you will see him there. Unfortunately, can't race F1 at the moment in real life, just due to situations. However, we can do it in the virtual world, which is what we're doing today. Adrian David there is the second driver on the list, a Renault Sport Academy driver, a very big carter, currently or wanting to race in the Renault Euro Cup Championship. Again, another real racer coming to the sim world here to see how and whether they have what it takes to race with other drivers. We then have Brokey Brooks, a Team Vitality ambassador and a first time at racing games. So obviously varied experiences here. We'll see how Brokey Brooks gets on during the event. We then have Vitality Robbie, also a Team Vitality ambassador, first time racing as well. So these two will probably be battling it out there to see who is the best of the first timers here. We then go to Depilo, a YouTube sim racer. Obviously going to have the experience of racing in the sim world. Expect to be more towards the front here at the event. We then move to Donald Renault, a GT Sportcaster, has been to some of the World Tour events as well. So expect to see Donald racing in there. Done some of the commentator races as well. So does know how to play the game. As we move further down the list now, we have Lauren Hogan, and Lauren is actually a real racing driver, broke the Nürburgring record. You will see some of that later on, and again, real world experience here, racing at the event. So we'll see some of these real world drivers competing against some of the sim world, competing against some of the first timers, as I've said. We then move to Thomas Neubauer, Lexus racing driver, very fast GT driver, and again, real world racing talent coming into the sim world, coming to join us in the sim world to see have they got what it takes. Moving further down, we have Seen Through Glass. Now, I'm a big fan of Seen Through Glass. There's no doubts about that. I've mentioned that in the past. A YouTuber, a car vlogger, and also F1 fan, basically super fan, I would say, for Seen Through Glass. Obviously, probably living a slight dream, racing Esteban Ocon at the same time on circuit. So it could be kind of cool to for Seeing Through Glass to experience that, you know, at home, racing against an F1 driver. I mean, how many times can you say that? We then have Prima Almeida, and this is a guest of Esteban, a sim racer as well. So should be up there fighting near the very front, having that experience of being a sim racer. We then have a number of other drivers who are only going to race in certain races, whether it's race 1 or race 2. So we have Nicolas Longuet, and Nicolas Longuet is just going to race in the second race. And Nicolas is a F1 Esports racer, so a very fast driver in the sim world. I expect to see Nicolas very near the front here and competing for the actual overall victory here in this GT Sports Show. We then have Movie Car Central. Now, Movie Car Central, a YouTuber. They build essential movie cars. So if you name a movie and a car, they've probably built it. So obviously they've got a big following there. They're coming to the sim world to actually race some of the sim racing cars, which they don't necessarily do. Further down, we have Le Petit Français. Sorry about my French accent there. And Le Petit Français is an influencer in the French world. And we'll see what they can do on circuit as well. And finally, we then have Rodolphe. Rodolphe is a music producer, very new to the sim racing world. So again, expect them to be fighting with Brokey Brooks, Vitality Robbie, and maybe getting into the swings of it quite quickly and, moving up that grid order. So your 14 drivers. Obviously, it's going to be 12 per race. You can see the drivers there. Race 1 with X's, they're not doing that race. Race 2 with X's, they're not doing a second race. We've got a number of points on offer here and available to the drivers. So we're not that far off the race now. We're just doing the final settings. We'll see if we can bring in Lewis into the fray. Are you there, Lewis?
I am here, yep.
Hello, Lewis. Right. Anything you're looking forward to in this race?
I'm interested to see if anyone ends up surprising us. We've got some names in here which aren't well known in the GT sports scene, so I'm looking to see if there's anyone who surprises us out on track by keeping up with the big boys.
That's a very good point. Are you expecting any of the real-world racing drivers to actually make an impact here and actually progress for that overall victory?
I think they should be right at the front of the field. I'm really interested to see how they get on.
They are currently practicing at the moment as well on circuit.
Yeah, we now have everyone on track accounted for and we're ready to get qualifying underway.
Okay, well, without further ado, before we jump to the qualifying then, let's actually first jump to a little guide to the circuit. V for victory. The question is, who is going to get that victory here on the Renault Vitality GT Sports Show, race number 1. We're here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, a very historic track, 7 kilometers in length with 21 turns. So lots of overtaking possibilities here at this circuit. 104-meter elevation change, so a big height difference there between the bottom and the top of the circuit, and a huge straight there of 751 meters. We are, of course, racing in the Renault Sport RS01 GT3. No setups here, 542 brake horsepower, 1,220 kilograms, very light car, mid-rear engine V6 in the back, and we're racing on the medium tyres. In terms of the points for this show, you can see there, first gets 25 points, second gets 20 points, and we go all the way through the positions down to 12, which gets 1 point. We'll add these up at the end, of course, to find out our overall winner. On the right side, for this first race, you can see 13 laps there for the race, which is going to be around 30 minutes. 30 minutes of non-stop action, and we are racing in the late afternoon there, 4:45, on dry conditions, so no wet weather to worry about here. Fuel and tyre consumption is both at ×1, so we're not expecting that to play a huge part in this race. Slipstream, though, is unreal, so expect some action down that long straight. No damage, of course, but before we get into that, let's have a look at the Renault RS01 racing around Monaco with some special guests.
And this was supposed to be like a nice ride.
How many people watch the Monaco GP on TV? 1.2. Okay. Oh, Dieu mio!
Ton avis, quelle taille je fais 2 mètres, tu dois faire 2 mètres ou 2 mètres 02. Ouais. Voilà, ça. Quelle est la particularité du Grand Prix de Monaco? Tu vois, faut être concentré. Ouais, y a pas de souci. L'erreur, ouais, y a pas de problème. Ouais, mais je préfère que tu sois concentré, ça me va.
I hope you enjoy it, bro. I am. Folks, let's go home, no question. Everything correct. Everything correct.
J'ai pu poser genre 2 questions.
C'était ouf! C'était ouf!
Oh la vache. Ouh.
And here we are with qualifying. We are on Esteban Ocon at the moment. Just come through Eau Rouge and Radion and heading towards Les Combes here. So we have 2 minutes of qualifying left. We'll see what happens with this qualifying here. Any predictions from qualifying, Lewis?
I'm going to stick with my pick to win the whole thing. Let's see if Esteban can take pole here.
Well, let's see what happens here. Esteban are just coming through the start of the second sector here. We'll go down some of the list so you get an idea of who the drivers are here. So in P2 at the moment, on the qualifying lap. This is Adrian David, the Renault Sport Academy driver. And then we have Prima Almeida, sim racer. So we're expecting Prima Almeida to have a good quali session here. We then have DePilo in P4 currently. That is the YouTube sim racer as well. So DePilo potentially looking for that pole position here. Then have Thomas Neubauer, the GT driver. Just going through Puhan now. And we'll see how Thomas does. Then have Le Petit Francais. And Le Petit Francais is only doing this race. But we'll see how they get on anyway. Potentially they could cause an upset very early on. As we jump to Seeing Through Glass, who's had a bit of an off there at Puhan, unfortunately. So that's going to be a bit of a bad qualifying there for Seeing Through Glass. Let's jump to Lolo Ring now, which is Laurent Horgan. And also a real racing driver. This is the Nürburgring record breaker. And we'll jump now to this is Donald Renault as the GT Sportcaster. Has done some of the sim racing already. In fact, we'll just jump to the front of the grid here because Esteban's about to cross the line to give us our initial time of a 2:15.0 here. As
he had purple in Sector 1, did not have purple in Sector 2. Almeida actually had purple for Sector 2 there in the first round of laps.
That's interesting. And Almeida is a sim racer and is actually is very close. Only 3/10 separating Esteban and Almeida. We'll jump a bit further down the grid. Thomas Neubauer, 1.2 seconds off Esteban, so a big gap there between P5 and P1 at the moment. We have a couple more drivers about to cross the line here.
Some drivers are not going to be fast enough to have their second lap by the looks of it.
We get a bit of flashing there from Rodolphe there, the music producer.
So everyone, Rodolphe and Dan, will not get a second attempt at this because they didn't complete their first lap fast enough.
Wow, okay. Oh, let's jump to Esteban Ocon now. Do we have any purple sectors in Sector 1, Lewis?
We currently have Almeida with a purple for Sector 1.
Oh, this is interesting then.
Looks like Esteban Ocon is way off actually, half a second through Sector 1 on this lap.
Wow, okay, so we'll jump. Oh, we've actually got DePilo is right behind Almeida here, so some slipstream potentially happening as well in terms of laps. In fact, Almeida's in behind. Who is that? Almeida is behind Adrian David. Yeah, so Almeida's actually got the slipstream here. That is potentially helping the lap.
Yeah, that will be the reason for the extra half second found in Sector 1, as Sector 1 is pretty much all the Kemmel straight. So having slipstream will help out massively there. Esteban is running at the front of the pack, so no slipstream for him. And Esteban goes purple in Sector 2.
Oh, wow, okay. And we're going to have to see what Almeida does here.
Almeida 4/10 slower through Sector 2. This puts the laps at basically even at this point at the end of Sector 2.
Oh, wow, so we do have a showdown here. Let's jump to Esteban first of all, because Esteban is going to be the first person across the line for the second time here. Is Esteban going to improve the lap time here? Try and settle that pole position for this first race. Through the chicane, Esteban heads towards the line here. What kind of lap time is it going to be? An improvement? It's not an improvement. Let's
not
jump
an improvement.
to
Here comes
P2.
Almeida. Improves.
Oh, improves. Oh, it's 0.08 of a second improvement. Gets pole position from Esteban Ocon there. We have a few more improvements there. DePilo, a 15.6 there up into P3. Thomas Neubauer does not improve here, as we're just trying to jump to the remaining driver to come across the line. That's Le Petit Francais. With a penalty, is there any improvement? No, there isn't. That's the end of qualifying. Almeida is your pole position sitter from Esteban Ocon here. Very, very tight qualifying session as we head towards the race. Now, this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. Are you going to stick with your pick?
Extremely tight qualifying session and already a surprise for me. Now, the slipstream, given that these drivers are only 1/10 apart, the slipstream should keep these guys together theoretically for the entire race. This should be really, really good.
That's good to hear then. So we wait for the lights to go out here. We have our countdown. And it's green, and we are racing here for the first time at Spa in these Renault's RS01 GT3 cars as we head towards the first corner. It's from Almeida, from Ocon. There's a third place battle there as DePilo goes down the inside here and manages to keep that position. A couple of drivers just ran out wide here. Let's jump towards the lead now. Almeida still got that lead position from Esteban Ocon as they head towards Aruj for the very first time, as we're 2-3 wide further back. But through Aruj and Radion we go, and Esteban is going to be all over the back of Almeida, Lewis.
Yeah, definitely in slipstream range here. Should be looking at a move at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Goes to the inside. Almeida doesn't defend it, which is interesting. Esteban Ocon alongside. Looks like he's got the lead at this point. Actually clears him before he even gets to the corner.
Wow, what a lovely move that is. 1, 2, 3 there. Line astern through Lecombe they go. But Esteban leading from Almeida. And then it's Adrian David. So we've got 2 real racing drivers fighting for the lead at the moment. That is absolutely fantastic to see, really. And it shows that real life racing does transfer to the virtual world as well as the other way around.
Yeah, looks like we've got some guys struggling towards the back of the pack. Looks like there's a few bumps there through turn 1, although, to be fair, that turn 1 was quite clean. Cleaner than I was expecting from some of the newbies, as that Spa turn 1 is extremely tough your first time through, especially from a grid start where all the cars are bunched close together.
Exactly, a very, very, very difficult first corner. So we're currently on DePilo, who's in a battle for 4th place with another real racing driver there, Thomas Neubauer. Let's jump to that lead battle once again with Esteban currently pulling a half a second gap here over Almeida, and looking to, Almeida gets a little bit sideways there through the chicane, and we're going to have a slipstream battle once again as we head towards Blanchimont and the final chicane. Are you expecting a move to happen there at the final chicane?
I don't think he's quite close enough at 5.5 tenths. We're going to see this gap come down significantly now, though, as we run towards the chicane.
Let's see what happens here. There's battles throughout the field at the moment. We'll try and keep in touch with who is where. Almeida is very close now. It's under 2 tenths here. Is there going to be a move down towards the chicane? They stay behind for now, and Adrian David stays close behind as well. Further back, DePilo keeps that 4th position from Thomas Neubauer. And then we have Donald Renault there in P6, who have made a bit of a breakaway there from seeing through Glatzy P7. And then there's a big battle further back. We jump to the P1 battle once again. It's Esteban Ocon versus Almeida versus Adrian David here. Oh, as DePilo has a little spin there at turn 1. Oh, that's unfortunate here. Drops down to P6.
We've got Almeida closing up the gap again to Ocon as they go through Eau Rouge and Radion at 5 tenths, so shouldn't get a chance at a move here. So it's interesting to see now if we will see Ocon start to slip away, or if these other guys can stay with him.
Yeah, definitely not enough. It's only just not enough there, so we know it's going to be around 4 tenths. If that gap's 4 tenths out the first corner, we expect to see a move at the end of the straight there, but we'll have to see what happens. They're staying very close here. A good 3-way battle here for all podium positions, and everybody wants to win this show. It's a bit of fun, but everybody wants to win, surely.
If you're a racing driver, you always want to win.
Exactly, and I mean, a shout out to the real racing drivers here. There are 3 of them in the top 4. It's absolutely amazing to see this. Real world driving skills transfers to the virtual world, and their competitiveness does transfer as well, because everybody's really competitive in racing. You want to race, you want to win. That's the whole point of it. If you come in second, you don't want that.
It's so great to see them all coming from different disciplines of racing as well, and being so close to each other on the track right now.
Exactly. And that's the nice thing here as well. We get different people from all walks of background racing on one circuit at the same time, from all walks of life, and it's awesome to see as Esteban Ocon comes through that right-hander now, and Almeida is under half a second on that slipstream here. We could see a move once again at chicane potentially.
I think Ocon had that 5.5 tenth gap that he had last time, but I think Almeida had a better run out of the corner that time, so let's see it. Goes to the inside. Can he get later on the brakes? I think he's got the inside for the first part of the chicane. Ocon could not keep the inside for the second part of the chicane. Almeida gets that move done.
What a move that was. That was a great effort. Very clean move down the inside. And it's exactly what we want to see here as we head towards the first corner. Now, Ocon and Adrian are going to be very close to Almeida here. We could see 3 wide down the straight.
It's actually possible. 4 tenth gap, so Ocon is definitely going to draw alongside here one way or the other. We'll have to see if Almeida goes to the inside along the Kemmel Straight, see if he can try and defend it.
They head up the hill at the moment, and it's 2/10 the gap here. This is going to be very, very close as they head down the straight here. It's going to, Almeida goes to the inside, Ocon goes to the outside. Now what's going to happen with the P3 driver?
Yeah, what's going to happen with the third car is the question here. So not
sticks
3
behind.
wide, but he actually
He gets it!
through. Yeah, wow.
That was
very powerful in this car because of the high amount of drag it has at higher speeds.
exactly. It's got a good amount of downforce here, so it hits that air, and it's just like a wall. And Ocon gets that position. But Adrian David there making the move as well up into P2. So Almeida drops from P1 to P3 there on the straight, and I think this battle's going to happen the entire race here.
Let's hope it does, because we've got another 10 laps of this to go, and it's been thrilling stuff so far. I'm really glad this event has got such a great battle for the lead going on.
Exactly. With all the effort that's gone in, this is awesome to see here as the 3 French drivers come through Pouhon here. All line astern at the moment. Let's have a look just a little bit further back. If there's a move here, no, there's no moves at the moment. We have Thomas Neubauer in P4. In P5, we have De Pilo there. And then there's a bit of a gap further back
There's a battle for P7 currently, and they're currently too wide, actually.
Here we go. Battle for P7. Then it's Donald Renault versus Le Petit Francais. As they go down into Pouhon. Oh, Donald Renault has just ran a little bit wide there at Pouhon, and Le Petit Francais gets that position up into P7. But we're now going to jump straight towards that lead battle because they're heading towards the chicane. Through Blanchimont they go, and Adrian goes a little bit wide there. Blanchimont, potentially a bit of dirt on the tyres.
Dirty tyres for sure. That's not going to help him out in the chicane. You see he has to slow down more there. Picks up a half-second penalty for his trouble as well.
That's fair enough though, using too much of the track, so fair play with that one. But managed to stop the car on dirty tyres, which is very nice to see, recognising that problem.
You could see he was conscious of it, and he definitely tried to stop that car sooner. He was braking earlier than Esteban there.
Very good to see. Now, Esteban's actually broken away a little bit here. 1 second gap. So, I don't think there'll be a move at the end of the straight, but it's whether Adrian and Almeida can actually catch up to Esteban now, or is Esteban just going to break away and actually lead from the front?
That is the risk of leaving the track inside Gran Turismo Sport. You get dirt on those tyres. That is all simulated within the game, and you are in big trouble, and you can lose the slipstream before you know it with a small mistake like that.
Yep, sure thing, and we can see that there's gone down to half a second here. Well, we'll see what happens to this battle a little bit later on. Let's just have a look down in P4. Thomas Neubauer still having that P4, P5 for De Pilo at the moment. Actually, let's jump to that battle for P2, because that is very close between Almeida and Adrian, and potentially Adrian could look here as maybe using the sim driver potentially to make sure he stays with Ocon. Or would you just want to race and do it yourself?
I'm not sure what he's going for here. I'm not sure whether he's not being close enough to make a move, because obviously when the car in front of you has the slipstream, it's very difficult to make a move on them, because whenever you pull offline, the car in front of you continues to get the slipstream and ends up pulling away from you more often than not. So whether he's choosing just to sit behind or actually can't get that move done, I'm not really sure right now, but he's right on the bumper of the car ahead. It actually looks like he's faster.
It does. Oh, a little bit wide there. A little bit wide. And what's happened here? Almeida has gone through. Adrian has dropped back a little bit there. Went a little bit wide out of that right-hander, which is very common to do there because you just want to plant your foot and go because of this long straight and acceleration period. The
slipstream broken. The slipstream is broken. We could well see Esteban break away here for the rest of the race.
It has broken. So Esteban Ocon 2 seconds ahead of Prima Almeida at the moment. We'll see what happens to this gap though, because remember Almeida is a sim racer and did get that pole position earlier on, so does have the pace there to challenge Ocon in this race.
Just shows it was only a small mistake running a little bit wide there, but it ended up slowing both drivers down, as I don't think Almeida had anywhere to go there.
It did slow all drivers down there a little bit, and that allowed Esteban to break away, potentially allows Esteban to feel a little bit more comfortable. P4 is coming in on the action now as well. Thomas Neubauer potentially catching up to Adrian and Almeida because of that incident. It's a 3.9 second gap at the moment. We'll see if that comes down at any point, and then it's a 4.5 second gap down to De Pilo in P5. And some gaps now forming on circuit, but the main battle of course is going to be for P2 as Adrian gets very close to Almeida there, heading towards the chicane, using that slipstream to pull that gap back up after that earlier little mistake there on the previous lap.
Yeah, as we have a bunch of different drivers from a wide variety of backgrounds, it's natural to see these gaps start to open up as the race goes on. But since a lot of these drivers are inexperienced, anything can happen. All it takes is one mistake, and suddenly you're bunched right back up with someone who's near you again.
Exactly. And this gap between Esteban and Almeida is not actually changing that much at the moment, although I do think Almeida is slightly quicker here. Actually gained a couple of tenths there through Pujon, so we could see that gap come down, and then that slipstream bring the fight right back at the end here, and we could have an absolute stonking finale in this race. In fact, it's just come under 2 seconds now, that gap. Oh, it's just extended again, so it's going to be close here. I think it's going to be close. I reckon it's going to be a three-way fight for this first place by the end of this race.
Yeah, it looks like Almeida keeps catching the runoff in certain places, maybe not aware that there is less grip out there and dirt likes to stick to your tyres when you use that extra piece of track. So I think from an analysis perspective, that is where he's losing the time right now. So if he can pick up on that as the race goes on, he might be able to catch with Esteban here. It's worth mentioning as well, this car is going to change as the race goes on. Fuel levels comes down, the tyres are going to develop slightly. There's no pit stop planned. They don't need to refuel, they won't need new tyres, but the car is changing as the weight changes, as those tyres get more bedded in.
That's very true, actually. We talked about that in the guide. You know, times one fuel and times one tyre. So the tyre wear does come into play towards the end of the race potentially. The car getting a bit more slippy, but the car will also get lighter, so therefore it'll be faster. And you know, that gets into the more qualifying setup, and you know, we see the speed that Almeida potentially had in qualifying, getting that pole position initially, and the gap has come down. It was 2.3 at the end of the last lap. It's now 2 seconds. 2 more laps and you're in the slipstream, but it depends if Adrian wants to go for it. Adrian just stays behind for now, wanting to push towards Esteban Ocon here as they head towards the chicane again. It's down to 1.8 seconds now, and I'm fully expecting this fight to happen very, very soon.
Yeah, so that was actually a bump draft there down the Kimmel Straight. These drivers now working together as they realise they need to catch Esteban now, or they are not going to be able to battle for this race lead.
Exactly, smart racing, and that's also a nice thing to see. You have to race smart in real life, you know. You look at drivers, you go, okay, they're racing faster than me at this moment, they're on a different strategy, or, you know, how can I get the race victory? Sometimes there is somebody slightly faster or somebody who can help you get that race victory. So you work together, get as close as you can, and then fight for that victory at the very end. And then, hey, you're leading the show, and you potentially can win the whole show if you then do the same in race 2.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth mentioning this RS01, in some people's opinion, can be a bit of a tricky car to drive. Personally, I absolutely love it. This is my favourite car to drive in the entire Group 3 class within Gran Turismo Sport. Car rotates really nicely on entry, but you get a little bit of oversteer on corner entry. That tends to catch some people out. A lot of newcomers say that this is a more difficult car. Now, coming up in the second race, we have the Megane Trophy, which is widely regarded as a significantly easier car to drive, actually one of the more simple cars to drive in the game. Do you think that will shake up the order?
I reckon it will shake up the order, and of course, with that car being a different car in terms of speed, because it's a slightly lower category car, I think it'll actually bring in more drivers into the mix, because obviously the faster the car, the harder it becomes to control. The slower the car...
Yeah, smaller gaps in that second race.
Exactly.
Because as more drivers can get more control over it, it's an easier car to drive ultimately, so the gap should be closer, lap time should be closer, and let's not forget, second race starting with a reverse grid.
Exactly. The reverse grid is critical here. So if Esteban wins this race now, in the second race, we'll be starting at the back of the grid, and we'll have to overtake 11 other drivers to get the race victory in that second race, which is hard to do at the best of times. So you know, it could get very, very tasty in that second race. The gap down to 1.8 seconds now. It's just gone up again slightly. Just a mistake there, I think, by Almeida into that chicane. But it has dropped below 2 seconds now, and we are very, very close to that slipstream gap.
Yeah, gap's been stable for a while now. Drivers behind are clearly pushing as hard as they can. You see the car slide out a little bit. You see them catch that AstroTurf. They're really pushing this car to this limit. So we're going to see if they can get more of a handle on it as the tyres and fuel develop more. As there's less fuel in the car, the drivers are going to be able to brake later. It's going to be interesting to see which drivers pick up on being able to brake later with less fuel.
Yeah, I suspect the real racing drivers will pick up on that very quickly because they seem to be able to adapt very, very, very fast to any given scenario. The fact that racing here are doing so well shows that. And speaking of real racing drivers, I'm just looking at Thomas Newbout. He's not catching the top 3 at the moment, so just stuck in a bit of a limbo land there on his own, racing away. But a P4 in the first race, if it finished as it was, it's still good.
We seem to have mostly filtered into pace order for this race at the moment, so drivers have filtered into the position where their skill level. I've not seen any changes of position up and down the field for a while now, but we're going to see if anyone makes a big mistake, because if they do, it's going to cause a big mix-up. Speaking of which, Robbie just went off in P11 at turn 1, so it just goes to show drivers are still making mistakes, things are still getting shaken up.
Yeah, Vitality Robbie there, new to sim racing essentially. So the fact that Vitality Robbie is still racing is very good. It just runs a bit wide there at Eau Rouge and Radion. He'll have a bit of dirt on his tyres there as he heads towards the chicane once again. He gets a penalty for that as well. So steward's thinking that was a bit too much of a cut. So the game goes, okay, game steward, I'll give you a penalty for that.
This is a good showcase of the difference between a real-life racing driver and somebody picking up sim racing for the first time as well. Just how big that difference is. We can actually see Ocon is now starting to approach his first lapped car. That will be Rodolph in P12.
Oh, that'll be interesting. In fact, I've just jumped to Esteban Ocon now, and that gap has actually increased massively. In fact, Adrian has actually overtaken Almeida there into the chicane, I imagine. We'll see if we can get a replay of that. But Adrian into P2 now, and Almeida down to P3, so that actually helps Esteban out absolutely massively here. And the gap been extended by a lot, so it's whether the lapped cars now cause Esteban any issue at all. Let's jump to that Esteban now as the approach to first lapped car here of you said it was yes, it's Rodolph there.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Back markers are ghosted, so he should get past him without any issues, but ghosted cars can be a distraction sometimes, as you'll know.
They definitely can be a distraction there, but no problem for Esteban here. And further back, the battle for P2 is still going on. Let's jump to that now. So Adrian going to have the slipstream of the back marker though, so that should help out here on this long acceleration period. And Almeida won't be able to do that much with that then, as they continue towards Blanchimont once again.
It could be a good opportunity for him to break away here, actually, since he has a slipstream temporarily of a car ahead. That helps fight off the slipstream disadvantage you normally have when you're defending a position.
That is very true. And if it puts off Almeida a little bit here, it doesn't. Rodolph goes a little bit deep there, but Almeida goes through as well. So not a huge amount lost there. In fact, I think Esteban actually lost quite a lot here. 2.1 seconds the gap now. It was 2.5 or 6 just before. So half a second lost in that chicane. I wonder whether that was due to lapping Vitality Robbie there. And through they go.
It also may have been the difference from the slipstream. It looks like Robbie has made a mistake there, as he seems much closer to P12 all of a sudden.
That is very true. So through Eau Rouge and Radion they go.
2.1 second gap right now. Still looks stable. It's been around this area for quite a while now. Since there's been a switch of positions for P2, we'll see if that changes now.
Well, we just saw a bit of teamwork there from Almeida. So Almeida trying the same thing that Adrian did earlier on. They only have 4.5 laps to do it now. So we will see what happens with that. I did want to see if we can see the overtake from earlier on. I have... So yes, it was to the chicane. Adrian got side by side, and the clean overtake there up into P2. So that was what happened early on. That's how Adrian got into P2, and a great move there down the straight.
Interesting, because earlier on it looks like they was trying to work together, but a couple laps later, obviously decided that wasn't the play and tries to force his way past.
Yeah, maybe didn't think that they'd catch Esteban, or maybe just thought, hey, holding me up massively here. I need to get past.
You could see a mistake from Brooks there as Esteban laps him. So Esteban now lapped the P10 car as he charges up to the P9 car.
Yeah, Brooks is literally first time sim racing as well. Doing very well out the first timers here in P10 at the moment. Quite a gap as well down to P11. Yeah, doing very well. That's as much as I can say there, because it's a massive gap down to P11 as well.
I do need to vouch for some of these guys. Some of these guys you're seeing towards the back literally installed the game yesterday and had no more than minutes practice going into this event. So I don't think they're doing too badly. Gran Turismo can be a difficult game to get to grips with. It's very different to a lot of other very popular titles out there, so it's good to see guys getting involved regardless.
Exactly, and this is what this show is all about as well. It's a bit of fun. You know, it could be your first time playing, you can be a real racing driver, you can be an experienced sim racer. It doesn't matter, you get out on circuit and you have a bit of fun. We know it's a difficult situation at the moment in the world, and yet we're here having fun in sim racing game, and actually, you know, we've got a good move and potentially a good move on the cards right here, right now, because Almeida is right behind Adrian through Origin Radion, and they're going to head down towards the chicane here. Is Almeida going to go for the move, or is it going to be a little bit of helping? And no, it stays behind for now.
Stays behind for now. It looks like there might have been another bump there, so drivers working together once again. So it looks like they changed positions, but now they're working together again. We've got 4 laps to go here, so let's see if they can catch Esteban.
Well, Esteban has not really put a foot wrong at the moment, to be honest with you. I think there was a slight mistake early on, and that has been it.
That gap is still more or less stable, though, in the low end of 2 seconds. So.
Exactly. So I don't see this gap coming down now. 2.2 seconds. If they get into that 1.5 margin, then there's a shot. But they've nailed that. They've nailed Pujon there. They've nailed Pujon.
Just remember, once they do get within that 1.5 seconds, that gap's going to start coming down significantly, because as this car travels along those longer straights, there's a lot of air drag, slipstream worth about 4/10. So if they can get in range, it's going to be big, and that might be the equaliser.
It could be indeed. It could be. And in fact, Adrian has had a good exit out of that right-hander. That gap is coming down.
So Esteban Ocon currently has your fastest lap of the race, by the way, with a 2:15.6. So he's the fastest on track even without the slipstream.
Wow, fair play, absolute fair play. Is there going to be a move here by Almeida? No, there isn't.
He picked up the dirty tyres, so he's going to have to back off for that one.
Okay, I missed that one. 1.8 seconds the gap.
And you can see he nearly lost the car there on exit of the chicane. Still got those dirty tyres from running wide earlier in the straight. So now 7/10 behind.
I'd say he's struggling to keep up with Adrian now.
Yeah, it looks like it. Looks like he's really struggling. Remember, the car has developed. The tyres are now starting to lose a little bit of grip as we come into the final few laps. And the car lighter as well, which, if you're not used to it, if you've been practicing with a full fuel tank, it's going to catch you off guard.
That definitely is happening. It looks like Esteban pulled up a little bit of a gap again. It was just under 2 seconds now. We've just gone over 2 seconds once again. Is Almeida going to go for the move here? It's going to be very close. Or are they going to work together? We are getting towards the end of the race now, and they stay behind for now. I'm just wondering how far behind Thomas Neubauer is. That gap has grown to 9 seconds. De Pilo in P5 there, 6.6. And then that's a 36-second gap then to seeing through glass.
We've got Donald Renew quite close to seeing through glass here, which could spice up as we go into the final few laps.
That could.
He's about to get in slipstream range, actually.
Yes, 1.6 seconds. In fact, seeing through glass has had a much better exit there at turn 1. It's whether seeing through glass can nail Origin Radion. Little bit of a flash there.
You can see the flash of the lights. That's actually from being aggressive on the left stick on playing with controller. When you use your left stick too hard when steering, you'll click L3 by accident and start flashing your headlights.
That is a very, very, very good point. And in fact, slipstream range has been achieved here.
So you can see just how hard he's driving the car with the lights flashing constantly as he goes around the corner, really concentrating, really trying to get the most out of it.
It's another good point to talk about, actually, is the inputs that drivers are using. We have some drivers here racing on wheels, and we have some racing on the pad. You can race on anything you want. I mean, just get involved.
Absolutely. But yeah, a lot of these guys have only been playing this game for a day, so a lot of them on the controller, don't have a wheel set up, not familiar with sim racing. So we've got all types of drivers represented here, really.
Yeah, and it's really good to see. Now, I want to cheer on Seeing Through Glass here. Let's see if the Brit can hold on to that P6 position. Into the right-hander we go. Oh, runs a little bit deep there.
Yeah.
And then the left. They're about to approach
Looks
their
like
first
that
lap
gap's
car,
coming
actually.
down. Looks like that gap's been coming down significantly, so I'm not sure whether Donald Renault made a mistake earlier in the race, which allowed Seeing Through Glass to come by, and now he's going to take his position that he had on pace before back. He's got the slipstream, 6/10 now, running into the final chicane.
That's a good point, and to be fair, I think Donald Renault was actually fighting with DePilo at one point, so potentially had a little accident there, and then is actually trying to get that time caught back up here. Runs very, very wide there, does Donald Renault, though. He's going to have a lot of dirt on his tyres as we approach the chicane here.
Yeah, you can see he runs deep there, not used to the dirt on the tyres, almost makes a big mistake and misses the chicane entirely, but he's going to drop some time back to Seeing Through Glass there. Almost drops back out the slipstream.
And there it is, straight out the slipstream there. So that gives Seeing Through Glass a little bit of breathing space for now. Let's jump towards the lead battle. How is that going on? Esteban 2.8 seconds ahead of Adrian now. I think it's all settled here really with Esteban. Esteban extending that gap. And I do wonder now whether Adrian and Almeida are going to be fighting now as we head towards the final lap. It's 4 attempts that gap at the moment.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. If there's any time for a move, it's probably now. I would say there's 3 major overtaking opportunities left in this race.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. Through the right-hander they go.
2.5 tenths. The gap, and slipstream should see to that. They're going to draw alongside for sure. We're going to have to see if there's a defensive line picked here. Looks like there is.
Side by side at Blanchimont. Is it possible?
Oh, no, it's not. That's
It's
going to be a huge amount of dirty tyres for Almeida, and now he's going to have massive trouble getting that car stopped.
But gets it stopped. Oh, beautiful driving.
Runs a little bit wide, but now he's going to drop just a massive amount of time.
Beautiful driving to get that stop, though. I mean, it's only 6 tenths behind Adrian as they are on the final lap now. Esteban leading the way. Oh, Thomas Neubauer in the background. They're getting all sorts of sideways coming out of the chicane. And let's quickly just jump to that P6 battle. How's that getting on? Seeing Through Glass still ahead of Donald Renault. Let's jump back to the P2 battle now. These are your 2 closest fights on the circuit at the moment as we head towards Oruge and Radion for the final time here. And Adrian gets it sorted there. The gap is under 4 tenths now. It's going to be very close as they head towards Laco.
Could see a move. Gap coming down rapidly. Defensive move. Too wide going into the corner. Can Almeida get it done around the outside? Be amazing if he can. No.
Oh, beautiful
on the outside.
Beautiful defending there by Adrian, and stays in P2 for now as they head towards the right-hander here. Just got to get it stopped here. Keep it tight on the apex.
He saw that move coming into the chicane from a mile away, picked his defensive line early, and now I'd say Almeida's only got 1 chance to get this done.
He does, and I think it's going to be in towards the chicane. Into Pujon we go.
That's if he can stay close enough through these final few corners.
That's a good point. He's lost a little bit of time there. Pulling it back though. Let's quickly jump to that P6 battle because that is very close now. As Seeing Through Glass and Donald Renault up Oruge and Radion they go. They're going to be very, very close as they head down the straight here. And Seeing Through Glass goes defensive here. Donald Renault right behind on the slipstream as they head towards the chicane. Who's going to get this position? They both break. Seeing Through Glass keeps it for now. Let's jump back to that P2. Oh, Donald Renault gets it all wrong. That gives Seeing Through Glass a little bit of a break. Let's jump to the P2 battle for now. We have Adrian and we have Almeida. They are both fighting here. Through the left-hander they go of Blanchimont for the final time. You see Esteban Ocon in the distance there. Esteban potentially get the victory here as Adrian goes defensive here at the bull stop chicane. Gets it stopped here. Let's jump to Esteban. Esteban is going to be finishing here, weaving towards the line. That's Esteban Ocon, your race victor here for this first race. And Adrian is going to get P2, followed by Prima Almeida in P3. In P4, it's going to be Thomas Neubauer here. Another real world racing driver crossing the line here. Just get rid of that penalty. Finishing in P4. In P5, it's going to be De Pilo. And then it's going to be your battle for P6, which is all sorts of happening here as Donald Renew has gone around the outside of see-through glass there on the chicane. We'll see if we can have a quick look at that and see what actually happened there.
Seeing through glass will have the advantage now, coming down into the final chicane.
We're just looking at the replay here, and it looks like seeing through glass defended it. Oh, a little bit of a tap there, and Donald Renew went round the outside. Let's jump to the actual battle now.
Yeah, I don't think Seen Through Glass is going to be close enough here because Donald Renew actually got the slipstream from a lapped car there, which really helped him out.
He has indeed, that's right, as they head towards the chicane for the final time. These drivers into the braking zone they go. And it looks like Donald Renew is going to get that P6 position. Seeing Through Glass in P7, as P9 there is going to finish, as is P10 there, Brooks, and P11 of Rodolphe there.
Yeah, so we're now just waiting for P8 and P12 to cross the line.
Which is Le Petit Francais. Through Blanchimont, they go.
Yeah, both coming into the final chicane now to wrap up what's been a great first race.
Brilliant first race that. I mean, you couldn't ask for any more, really. We had action throughout. We had smart racing. We had frantic overtakes throughout the field. We had newcomers racing well. We had experienced sim racers racing hard, and real racing drivers showing what they're really made of in the sim racing world. As P12 just comes across the line there. And you can see the initial race results there. We'll get them.
Congrats to Esteban there for taking what was, in the end, a dominant victory. It looked in doubt for the first couple of laps or so, but then he really started to extend that gap as the race went on.
It did indeed. We'll just jump towards the race results. Oh, apologies. I just absolutely smacked the mic there. And there we have the race results. Esteban Ocon is your race victor there from Adrian David there in P number 2, and then P3 there for Prima Almeida. So the real world racing drivers, P1 and P2.
Yeah, it's a great display of why they're the professionals, but got to give a shout out to some of those new players. Fantastic job to stay on the lead lap.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, if you go further down the list here, so some of the more newer drivers down at the bottom there, we've got Brooks, we have Vitality Robbie, Rodolphe down there, and some of the less experienced drivers down there as well. They've all done very well. You know, they've still finished the race. There is a time limit at the end of the race. If you don't finish within that time limit, you don't finish the race. So they all did that, correct. At least.
Yeah. Putting on a great show for us there, everyone.
Esteban actually managed to get the fastest lap down to a 2:15.289.
Yeah, so that will be as the fuel came out of the car. The car gets lighter. He was able to. Looks like he set several fastest laps over the course of that race.
Yep, he definitely did. So it's showing the pace there, Esteban Ocon. But remember, Esteban Ocon will be starting from the back of the grid in the next race. So a lot of work to do to win this race. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to have a quick little ad break, and then we will jump towards some interviews, because we all love a good bit of interviews. So we will see you very shortly.
Wow.
If you like, you are French now.
Daniel Ricciardo, the talented Australian Formula One driver, now lands in a new wonderful country, La France.
Bonjour, La France.
As his new team, we wanted to welcome him properly, so we hired the best of the best, Guy Savoy.
Hi, I am Guy Savoy.
Chef Savoy is the head chef and owner of the eponymous Guy Savoy restaurant in Paris. 3 Michelin stars, which also turns out to be the best restaurant in the world. But for Daniel, we've prepared something a bit different.
Un pied de cochon pour la 2, s'il vous plaît. J'arrive. Welcome.
Thank you for coming. I'm excited.
Are you ready for authentic French cuisine?
I guess so.
I give you the menu for the first course.
Le pied de cochon.
Pied de cochon. Pied de cochon. Are you trying to turn me into a vegetarian? Yes. Magnifique.
Pig foot.
No way. No?
Les cuisses de grenouilles.
You are too fond.
I have no idea. Maybe don't tell me what it is. Ah, oui. Frog legs.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a kangaroo. It's the same.
The French are very strange. But actually, it tastes good.
Les escargots.
Typically French. 6 snails.
Ah, they are alive? All right. Wow. I ate snails. French guys, you're crazy. They taste okay, but you're still crazy.
The chef dessert now.
If it has chocolate, normally it's good. Chocolate or caramel or...
Le fromage.
All right, let's try it. Un petit peu.
Smell this one.
Wet socks.
Wow.
Okay. I am French. Ah, bonjour, je m'appelle Daniel Richard. Oui, oui.
And what do you think? No? I would like to go in Australia.
I can cook for you.
Yes! I don't drive for you. Now you have your French passport. Welcome in France.
Oui, vive la France.
Right, hello everyone, we are back and we have some interviews. So first of all, I will bring to you Seeing Through Glass. Now, Seeing Through Glass is a YouTuber. Make sure you check out Seeing Through Glass's channel. Hello Sam, how was your race?
Oh my god, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. It was lonely, I'll be honest. I mean, I feel like I spent 10 of the 13 odd laps just by myself. And so I sort of made sure that I focused and I concentrated and didn't make any mistakes. And then right at the final lap, just when somebody caught me, I made a mistake. So I'm kicking myself.
Oh, but you had some good racing though. I mean, you still came P7, I think it was, and that's good to see. Now, I do have one question for you, if I'm honest, and that is, I know you're a mad F1 fanatic. How does it feel to be racing on the same track as a Formula One driver?
It's so cool. I mean, it's really why I'm here. I'd be happy lapping in last, just to say that I raced against Esteban today. And that's the thing. I mean, I don't think I saw him on track at any point, but I saw him on the leaderboard, and I was like, hey, I'm basically a Formula One driver right now.
It's awesome to hear. I said this earlier on. I was like, imagine being in Seen Through Glass's mind, F1 fanatic, and you get to be on the same circuit as a Formula One driver. Did you have any nerves?
Oh, I mean, yes. So a couple of years ago, actually, weirdly, through Infinity, I did something called the Ultimate Test Drive, which meant I got to drive a 2012 F1 car. Now, I thought that was going to be the ultimate preparation, because, of course, that meant I was an F1 driver. But today, I didn't feel prepared at all. I just felt nervous. I felt on edge. I knew that the world was watching. But I don't know how professional drivers can concentrate so much for so long. By lap 5, I was like, oh my god, it's like I was a bundle of nerves just waiting to hit a barrier and end up on my roof. But somehow I kept it together really until that final lap when the pressure was on and I made a couple of mistakes. But yeah, I was a bag of nerves.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And you didn't actually make that many mistakes. It's still P7 in the end. You're still in the show. You're still having fun. Are you looking forward to race 2?
I am, but I feel like I was stronger around Spa, so that was like kind of my moment to impress, and I feel like this might be a bit of a quieter, slightly less, well, impressive is the wrong word, but a less solid performance. But let's wait and see. Who knows? Maybe I'll surprise myself.
Well, I think you actually did superb, to be fair, without being fanboyish, and I actually do think you're in for quite a surprise for this race too. Thank you so much for joining me, like briefly in the commentary. Obviously, we have a few interviews, and I wish you all the best for that second race.
I appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you, Sam. So we do have a few other interviews that are going to be happening, and I just have to let them know that it has been done there, and we will see what happens in the second race. Sam, obviously, a little bit nervous, racing with a Formula 1 driver, but still did very well. P7. Now, I mentioned the Formula 1 driver. That is who we have coming next in the commentary box. We are going to be talking to Esteban Ocon shortly. And the French commentators have just stolen him briefly first. We will make sure we will steal him in a second. Good race overall from, in my opinion. Lewis, did you think there was any issues there, or superb?
I think everyone put on a great show considering their skill level. Obviously, Esteban with a dominant victory, being, of course, a real-life F1 driver, so it's what you'd expect. But also, some of the guys like Seen Through Glass. He just picked up the game yesterday for the first time. Seen Through Glass got himself P7 there on a 12-car grid, which he should be really happy with considering that he's only just picked up the game.
Yeah, exactly. And just as Seen Through Glass said, I mean, imagine being on an F1 track with, it is an F1 track, but imagine being on track with an F1 driver. I mean, mind is just blown, in my opinion. I mean, as we said earlier, it's mind-blowing the fact that we get to commentate on an F1 driver.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this whole event's pretty surreal, but it's a great distraction from what's going on right now in the world. We're all having fun. It's a great evening.
Yep, it sure is. Right, I do believe we are about to get Esteban Ocon. We are just waiting to find out. We all love live broadcasts, don't we? Obviously, it's like the media in an F1 paddock. Everyone jumps on to the F1 drivers, wants the interview first, wants all the juicy gossip of what's happened. And finally, we have him now. It's Esteban Ocon. Congratulations on your first win, Esteban, in that race. How do you feel?
Hello?
Hello? How do you feel about the race?
I can hear you. Cut it. Sorry. How are you?
It's okay. So I was just saying, congratulations on your first race, and how do you feel about that first victory?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was awesome. Really, it was a very good race. As I was saying in the French broadcasters as well. Yeah, it was very tight with the guys. You know, those guys, Adrien David, Maxime Delpech, alias Almado. We were both in all training together, so we know our pace, and it was very important to break that 1.5 second slipstream. I was lucky enough that they made a mistake. And from there on, I just had to push and keep the car on the track and bring it home. But very intense compared to real life. I'm very tired mentally.
No, that's a good point you make. Actually, we were talking about the slipstream quite a lot, and one thing I've noticed from a lot of the real racing drivers coming to the virtual world in these tough times at the moment is that a lot seem to be saying they get very nervous, even more nervous than they do in a real race car. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, for sure, because we have less experience. I mean, for me, it's my first real race on the virtual world. So, of course, I'm used to train with guys that are a little bit faster than me. So it makes me push, every day to get better. So that feels fantastic. I have a great chance to race with those guys. But yeah, I mean, because you don't control everything, you're not sure of some parameters. You can get nervous. That's pretty normal.
That's fair enough to hear. I mean, for me, like even commentating and watching you race, it was quite clear to see you could adapt very quickly. Do you think this adaptation, where you race in real life, you go around circuits, you have to adapt very fast to the conditions, do you think that actually helps in the virtual world because your tyre wear was coming in and also your fuel was coming in as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the same. You have to adapt in the game because we change car constantly, we change rules. Also in the real world, conditions keep changing all the time. And I feel like that's where I'm the strongest. As soon as we start a session, that's where I'm the closest to the top guys on the game. And then, they can work on the setup and they know they have more experience because it's their job as well. So that's where, the gap builds. And I have to understand a little bit more and get more experience on the game. But at the moment, we have plenty of time, I will say, unfortunately. So I will try and get even better.
That's good to hear, and I've got to say it was a very good performance in that first race. We could see it, but are you a bit nervous the fact that you're going to start at the back of the grid in race 2?
Yeah, it's going to be quite chaotic, I think, because there's a lot of difference in pace with the guys. Some are playing with the controllers as well, so it's going to be a bit strange. But all the guys that I know are starting in the back as well, so hopefully we can come back together and come back to the front as quickly as possible.
That's awesome to hear. Well, I wish you all the best for that second race. Thank you very much for joining us here in the English commentary booth as well. And I say good luck.
Thank you. See you later.
See you later. So there we have Esteban Ocon. And it's good to hear that Esteban Ocon does get nervous in sim racing world. It does show that obviously it impacts a driver, whether they've had hundreds and thousands of miles of real world life experience or whether they're just racing for the first time in the virtual world. Everybody gets nervous. Everybody gets absolutely nervous here. So we are now just waiting for our next driver to join us in the commentary booth. And our next driver is actually going to be... here we go. We have our next driver. It's Brooks. Hello, Brooks. How are you? How was your race?
Hi. My race was like really, really, really hard.
Hard as in just adapting to it?
It was really hard to adapt to the car, the race, as I'm playing with a controller. And but I had a lot of fun because I was like challenging a guy, Lolo.
Yeah. We saw that. We did see that on the stream.
He passed me at the end. I was so mad.
I know that feeling of being mad right at the very end. We had a couple of moves at the very end there. Now it's your first time in sim racing, isn't it?
It is actually.
So how did you find the whole scenario in that first race? Did you enjoy it? Was it very tense?
I found it really interesting. Because it's really tense, and you have to be focused like for the whole race. And when you get like you're not focused like for 1 second, the guy can pass you. And it was really tense. And it's as I'm a competitor, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, that is awesome to hear. Now, obviously, you are going to be in the second race, and you're going to be starting near the front. Are you nervous about starting near the front, or are you excited about that?
Hell yeah, I'm so nervous.
That is awesome to hear. Now, you're going to have Esteban Ocon coming right up to you during this race, I'm sure. Are you going to be nervous that you're sharing and fighting on the same piece of road as a Formula 1 racing driver?
I'm kind of nervous, but I'm gonna do everything like to try to hold the best place as I can, and I'm just gonna see what's gonna happen. But to me, I think I'm just gonna chill with Robbie at the at the last place, and it's gonna be fun. And we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Oh, that is awesome to hear, because that's what the show is all about at the end of the day, to have a lot of fun. I wish you all the best for that second race, and we'll be keeping an eye on you on circuit, and we'll see if you can beat Robbie again. How about that?
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you. Have a good race. So that was Brooks there, and unfortunately lost a position on that last lap. Some good interviews there with some of the drivers. Nice to hear that everyone's having different experiences here. And I'm going to bring Lewis back in. If Lewis, are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Excellent. What did you think of those interviews? To me, it was nice to hear that they are all having fun, but are all very nervous and taking it quite seriously.
It's very interesting to hear Esteban's take there. The fact that, it is still nerve-wracking, even though it's a for fun race, which doesn't have any real results or rewards. The fact that sharing the track with other top drivers is still nerve-wracking for someone of his caliber is really interesting to hear about.
Yep. Oh, we've been asked if we want somebody else. Yes, we can. Let's grab another competitor then.
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier, absolutely. I just have to find them on here as well, and this is all very last minute. Okay, no, that isn't happening. Sorry if you can hear typing there. We're just sorting out some of the interviews, of course. It was nice to hear as well from Brooks, obviously a new sim racer, and the fact that he's a very competitive person anyway, and he really wants to win.
You've got two completely different perspectives there, and to hear them both in contrast and hear that they're both nervous for the same reasons is actually really, really interesting.
Exactly. And as I say, that is all good to hear. We are going to go towards a little bit of a break now. So we have some interesting footage for you to watch. Please do enjoy and be ready for race number 2.
Bienvenue au RS Spirit Challenge, un parcours nécessitant agilité, réflexion et surtout beaucoup de sang-froid. 3 équipes composées de pilotes Renault Sport et d'athlètes Vitality vont devoir se coordonner au mieux sur un parcours exigeant et se surpasser. Mais attention, la tâche ne sera pas si simple.
Rappelez-vous, une Renault Mégane RS, 280 chevaux, 390 Nm de coupe, avec la spécificité d'être à double commande, ce qui nécessite une synchronisation parfaite. Notre première équipe avait fait un bon temps, mais pas assez pour dépasser Laurent et Néo. Comment va réagir la deuxième équipe?
Hi, I'm Max Dutrell. I'm 20 years old. I'm from the United Kingdom and I race Formula 3.
Salut, c'est K-Dup. Je suis français et j'ai 21 ans et je suis actuellement champion du monde en titre sur Rocket League.
So guys, how do you feel about this challenge?
I feel good. I'm sure you're gonna give me a good advice, so I feel good.
Yeah, I'm quite excited for today. I've never done anything like this, so we'll see. I'm sure I've got a strong teammate here and be able to get around the track as fast as possible.
Have you done something like this before?
Nah, never.
Never
I
ever?
only drive my Clio on the normal road.
Are you a good driver?
I hope. I don't want to disappoint him, so.
So who's going to be first at the steering wheel at the pedal?
We haven't really spoke tactics yet, but I think maybe I'll take the steering wheel first, try show the correct line, and then he can follow what I did after.
And do you guys think you have what it takes to win it all?
100%.
100%? Oh, I like that. Okay, I like that. So I see that you are really confident. I can't wait to see you guys compete. So I wish you good luck and have a lot of fun.
We stay calm. Go.
Don't worry, stop it. Just keep going. Don't worry, mate. Whoa! Oh!
Whoa, it's very little bit.
Go, go. Go, go, go. Okay.
Nice, mate. Good job. Good job, man. Oh, the chicane I went too wide. The slalom we went quite wide, but yeah, it's impossible. It's too tight for the car. We need to brake. How was the cookie? F***ing bad. I almost puked. You had all of them. Yeah, but I only take a bit at the end. Yeah, I'm not good at basketball. It's not my not my sport. Yeah. Yeah, this is really strange with this. Yeah, you see? And the clutch is not long at all. It's very short. So it's not you can't you can't just move it slightly. Yeah. That was good, I think. Hopefully. I think we win. Good job. Good job, man.
So guys, how went your challenge?
Yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed it. I've never been inside of a car where I'm not fully in control, so it was kind of a strange experience for me, but it was, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to not got the steering, sorry. So it's a good experience.
And what was for you the hardest part of the challenge?
I think trusting the other guy, my teammate, and having full faith that he will brake when I need him to and accelerate when I want, and yeah, just trusting the other guy in the car when you only have the steering and he has the pedals.
I think the most hard part is to not got the full control of the car and trust your... I mean, I trust him of course because he's a pro pilot, but it's really strange.
Do you guys think you did well?
We watched some of the other laps and I feel pretty confident at the moment, but you never know. We never know, so but I think we did a good job.
You think you did a good job too? Yeah. You seem to be like really confident.
Yeah, he did a perfect job with the pedals when I was on the steering, and then he did a perfect job with the steering.
We do only one mistake, it was...
Yeah, I think we went the wrong way around there, but...
Okay. So guys, let me know something. How did you find the cakes? Was it good?
Really bad. Really bad. I tried to eat a lot, you know, but really bad.
I think it distracted his driving after he wanted to be sick.
You couldn't speak? You couldn't speak with that?
There was no talking after he ate the biscuits.
So guys, the reference time to beat 3 minutes, 0.7 seconds. Do you guys think you did better?
I feel pretty confident.
Yeah,
I think we did pretty well, apart from one mistake over there.
I guess we are more faster.
I can see on your face that you
I feel confident.
Really,
we had
really
a
confident.
really good run after that.
So, I'm going to tell you how long you took. Guys, it took you 2 minutes and 19 seconds to finish the challenge without penalties. That was nice, that was nice. Thank you very much, guys. Stay with us because we're going to know how long it took to the other teams. And thank you very much for doing that, guys. Thank you. N'hésitez pas à partager et vous abonner à nos réseaux sociaux. Et rendez-vous très vite.
V for victory, but the question is who is going to take that second victory here in the Renault Vitality GT Sport Show. You can see we are at Red Bull Ring, which is a track which has a length of 4.3 kilometers. 10 turns on the circuit, lots of sharp turns, so I'm expecting a lot of overtaking to happen. A few dive bombs potentially, but we'll wait and see. And it has a huge straight there, 939 meters, so lots of slipstream action potentially in this race. We are racing the Renault Sport Gran trophy car, 365 brake horsepower, 955 kilograms in weight, so a very light car, very fast car as well, with a mid to rear V6 engine in the back, and we are racing on the medium tyres. You can see the points on the left hand side there, so a few more points on offer in this one. Winner takes all essentially here. If you can win both races, you've won the entire show. 30 points for the victor there. They have to try and win over the 23 laps here, which is around 35 minutes in length for the race. We're racing at 1:15, and once again it's a dry race, so no wet weather here, so the drivers don't have to contend with very difficult conditions there. Fuel consumption times 1, tyre wear times 1, that shouldn't play a huge part in this race. Slipstream once again as real, damage is off, but the key thing here, a reverse grid based on the previous race results. Anything can happen here, fast guys coming through to the front. But before we do that, let's have a look at the Renault Megane RS Trophy now at the Nürburgring. and here we have the official race results for the first race that happened here in the Renault Vitality GT Sports Show. As you can see, Esteban Ocon on 25 points, followed by Adrian on 20, then Almeida on 17 points. They're your podium finishes there. And you can see the points as they go down to Thomas Neubauer 14, De Pilo on 12, Donald Renew on 10, Seeing Through Glass on 8, Le Petit Francais on 6. We then have Laurent Hogan on 4 points, Brookie Brooks on 3, Rodolphe on 2, and Vitality Robbie on 1 point. So, Lewis, pretty awesome start to the first race, really. And this brings on a little bit of a show for race 2 because the points go up in race 2.
Yeah, that's right. So instead of 25 points for the win, it's 30 points for the win this time around. It's going to give driver opportunities to cause upsets, I think, especially with the reverse grid.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that reverse grid, anything can happen. Anything can happen. I mean, just think of it this way. If you're Donald Renew on 10 points at the moment, you get 30, you're on 40. So if Esteban only gets 14 points, you beat Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, just remember Esteban Ocon's got to go through 11 other cars here to get back to the front, and anything can happen when you're overtaking other cars, especially when there's a big skill gap between the two drivers. They have different ideas of braking zones and what speed they should take the corners. It can cause accidents, so he needs to be aware of that.
Exactly, and Esteban was saying as well that he'd been training with a few of the other drivers, so they know their sort of race pace for some of the drivers. Other drivers, they don't know. We were talking about some of the first timers. It's their first time on the game. They are having to learn this on the fly, and as we said earlier, I think they've all done very well here. We are going to have a couple of driver changes here. So we've got a couple of new drivers, a couple of people dropped out. So the drivers that have dropped out are, let's just have a quick look here. Le Petit Francais and Rodolphe, they both now leave that race. And then we have two new drivers coming in, which is Nicolas Longuet and Movie Cars Central. So Nicolas, an esports racer, an esports sim racer. I'm expecting to be going very quick here. And Movie Car Central, another newcomer to sim racing.
Worth mentioning Nicholas starting on the front row of the grid because he was not part of race 1, which means by default on a reverse grid he starts at the front. Being an esports racer, we could actually see him run away with this one entirely.
Yeah, we could. We'll have to wait and see though. We are going to have a couple more interviews now with a couple more guests. These are the organisers, or the main organisers of the event. So we are going to be joined by Florent Pagende.
Hello.
Speak of the devil, Florent has just arrived here. So Florent is the general manager for IGTL, and yes. I am just looking for your name on my list, actually, and I can't find you, which is very annoying. But even so, Florent, I have one big question for you here, and that's IGTL, as an organisation, has really come to the forefront in these organised online events. Are you proud?
I am proud, yes, because it started from nothing, but I'm also really proud of who I'm working with. Especially, like, I can't do that all alone. I'm the general manager, yes, but there's a lot of people working hard, very hard, to make all of this happening. All the races we've done on our end, and this Renault event with all the whole partners. So yeah, I'm really proud. But yeah, I think it's the whole team which has to be proud as well. So yeah, it's very, very good thing, especially also on Gran Turismo.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm proud.
Yeah, and you must be a little bit more proud because you've now got real world racing drivers coming into these events and racing well. I mean, the top 4, there's 3 real racing drivers.
Yeah, that's excellent. That just shows how well they are, how good they are in real life, and also on sim racing. And most of them don't do sim racing very often. So seeing them on top of the results, it's just, yeah, they're good. It's just in them, and yeah, I think it's very good for the sim racing scene in general as well, to have like those drivers coming up in our races. And
Yeah.
yeah, to just say it again, we can be all proud of this as the IGTL or the whole sim racing community.
Yeah, yeah, and I can understand that as well, because the amount of effort that goes into organising this kind of stuff is mind blowing, essentially. But finally, to hear that these drivers, whether they're first timers, sim racers, or as I say, Formula One drivers, they're all nervous racing this. Even though it's a fun event, they're still nervous and tense. Would you be nervous or tense?
I would be. Whenever there's a camera watching and when you're racing, so you can't do any mistake, or people will see it either on the live timing or on track if the camera is actually on you. So each race you have to be perfect, and that's the kind of pressure everyone needs to actually perform. And even if Esteban Ocon says he's got pressure to race, that's just because he wants to make it perfect. And as a Formula One driver, everything has to be perfect every time. So that's the same thing in sim racing. Even though there is less risks of in the accidents or anything, you have to be perfect in your inputs.
Yeah, that is very, very, very true. In terms of just finally with the events, are we looking to continue this growth of like awesome events that are happening in Gran Turismo at the moment? I mean, Gran Turismo is an awesome game to play, to race, to have fun. Are you seeing IGTL to continue to just have these amazing events?
Of course. Obviously, there is other stuff going on. You can't say otherwise. But yeah, we'll continue to make that stuff. Not often, because it needs to be special as well. A race needs to be special, so we will continue, but not on a too often basis. To make the events very special.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Thank you so much for joining us, Florent, and I wish you all the best with any future events, and hopefully the second race is going to be as exciting as the first.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've just had Florent there join us in the commentary booth. We are now going to be joined by Richard Arnau, who is the CEO of Race Clutch, another key organizer of the event. Richard has just joined us now. Hello, Richard. How are you? How are you enjoying the event?
Hi, Martin. Hi, Lewis. Cool first race. Enjoying a lot the races. Different levels by everyone, but from the first feedbacks and interviews that we just heard, everyone seems to be happy about that first race. So awesome.
Yes, exactly. And one thing I mentioned to Florent that I'd also want to mention to yourself is it awesome to hear that whether you're a first timer at the event, whether you're an experienced sim racer, or as I said to Florent, an F1 driver, essentially, all saying they're nervous but also having a lot of fun. I mean, it brings a bit of joy to you, does it not?
Yeah, definitely. That's this is one of the parts of the passion for sim racing. There is way much more mental element compared to the real thing, where you are always balanced on left and right, all the physical things and all what is going on around you. But it's sim racing, it's really focused on your mind. So yeah, I'm not surprised that for new people around Gran Turismo and most experienced F1 driver like Esteban, all of them can be a bit nervous going into the race.
Yeah. And for me, it's good to hear as well, because it shows that whether you are new to the game or very experienced, the nerves bring out the fun, and then we have the fun in Gran Turismo Sport, which is what it's all about. It's all about having fun, especially in these tough times. It's very hard to do lots of things, but we can all come from all walks of life here with an organised event by yourselves and actually race in a fun environment and actually have a good show, because this has been a brilliant show so far.
Yeah, definitely. That's the whole part of the event and of the organizations. Like in 1 week, we managed to put out everything to make it work. So we are pretty about that, and we can thanks all the stakeholders taking part on the project. So from Renault DP World F1 team, Renault Sports, Renault Group, Team Vitality and Renault Vitality, of course, PlayStation France as well, and the IGTL, and you guys for accepting our invitation to broadcast the event.
Oh, it's been amazing to broadcast, and I can only thank you myself. We are getting very close to the second race now. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Who are you expecting to win this second race, and who are you expecting to win the overall show?
Esteban is in a pretty good position, but with the reverse grid, everything can happen in Austria. So yeah, it will be a good fun. So I will go for the third answer, like not giving a name and anything can happen. But yeah, I think Esteban has a good chance, and yeah, maybe we can find some surprise. Adrien is quite fast as well as Aimado. So yeah, I think between those three, as in the first race, maybe all three of them will be up for the fight and for the shot for the win at the end.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much, Richard, for joining us in the commentary box. It's been an absolute privilege. Thanks again for the invitation as well. We are going to be jumping to the second race shortly. Is there any final words you would like to say, Richard?
Yeah, thanks again to all the partners and to all the participants. Everyone has been amazing to pull out everything together. So yeah, once again, thanks to all, and enjoy the second race.
Thank you so much, Richard. That is absolutely awesome. So we are getting very close now to this second race. Final laps going in of practice, and we are looking forward to this second race indeed. I'm just going to bring Lewis back in. Lewis, it's nice to hear from the organisers of the event. And do you have any additional thoughts to what they said?
It's great to hear that it's positive thoughts from everyone. Everyone is enjoying themselves. Everyone's proud of what they've created here today. And you know what? We've got another race about to get underway, and it's starting right now.
We do indeed. Right, so let's jump to this race and let's find out whether Esteban does win as he did in the first race.
Have you got any predictions for this one before we go quickly?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say that there's going to be a surprise here, and I'm going to put Adrian as the winner on this one.
My pick is Nicolas Longuet for this one. Starting P2 on the grid.
So remember, folks, we have a reverse race grid here. Reverse race grid. Who is going to come out on top here? Let's find out as we get ready for the green light. We go down to 1, and we are racing here on the grid start. And someone's had a very bad start there straight off the bat, but a little bit of contact there on the grid. But we continue on now towards the first corner as we have Robbie, who is nearly in the lead. No, it's Nicolas Longuet. Oh, they're through. They go too wide into the first corner. You don't see that very often. But Nicolas Longuet is side by side with Fatality Robbie at the moment, and Nicholas has it as you predicted, Lewis.
It looks like the car on pole position there struggled to get off the grid, and that caused carnage as the cars tried to weave past it into turn 1. So we've got some cars dropping off now. Big action into turn 3 in the mid-pack.
Oh yes, Thomas Neubauer getting a little bit sideways there, and we are actually on with the pole sitter at the moment, which was Movie Car Central. Struggled off the line there, but here they are side by side as they head down towards this right-hander, and Thomas Neubauer on the inside. Lots of people trying to make moves here. Lovely little bit of racing here. Through they go, and it looks like, we've had a spin there. Brooks has a span there on the exit of the corner. That's a very tricky corner to get right. Thomas Neubauer, the big surprise here, up into P3, and Adrian in P4.
Something extremely interesting I've picked on. Guess which driver got the worst of the turn 1 incident?
Esteban?
Ocon. So he's got it all to do now. He's currently 7.6 seconds behind the leader. Looks like he's charging up the field though. Let's see how he navigates these cars.
Wow, and we've just seen Thomas Neubauer as well get straight into that P2 and Adrian into P3. My pick is coming out on trumps at the moment, I think, as through the right hander we go, and we're going to head towards the last corner now. Again, a very tricky corner downhill. You just saw the Adrian's car go a little bit sideways there, and Almeida looking to make moves on Vitality Robbie. Vitality Robbie must have just cut that last corner a little bit. Almeida staying behind at the moment as they complete the first lap. Esteban Ocon charging through up into P10 now, I think it looked like.
Yeah,
Almeida
Ocon just got by Brooks there on the final corner, which is not a usual overtaking spot.
No, it's not. And Almeida actually went for the move on Vitality Robbie. He pulled out of it, but it actually cost Robbie a little bit of time here. And they continue up towards the right-hand down hairpin. This is a big, big overtaking zone, this. You see a lot of moves here happen. And Almeida down the inside. Oh, gets it done. Superb driving there from Almeida. And lots of cars in the thick of the action there. And we continue out of that corner. And wow, Lewis, what a start.
Yeah, crazy stuff up and down the field, but look at the gap that Nicholas has got right now in the lead. It's 3.1 seconds already because he had that P2 starting position and he wasn't hindered by the incident going into turn 1. Let's see if the other drivers that started further back can catch him now.
Oh yeah, that is a good point, but we're stuck on the mid-pack at the moment. We just saw 2-3 wide into the right-hander, and it was see-through glass making a move on Movie Car Central. They're still side by side, and Esteban Ocon is right at the back of this pack as well. Has to try and overtake all of these to even get involved in the action towards the front. Just gets the move done there as we continue on.
Donald Renew there off, got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
As there's 3 wide action going through the midsection of this circuit there.
We're still 3 wide here. Esteban Ocon down the inside, gets the move done here on 2 drivers, and further back, has he got it done? Esteban Ocon up into P7, gets it done. What a move there by Esteban Ocon. We'll try and get a replay of that.
Chaos in the mid-pack. It's a good job this circuit has a lot of runoff.
That's a very good point, but it was always expected with the reverse grid. And our pole sitter, Movie Car Central, is still keeping in this battle, and Ocon's actually got up to P5 now.
Double move through turn 1 there in P5. Now got to chase down the faster drivers.
Wow.
9 seconds behind the leader, so he's lost more time to the leader there as he fights through the pack. Let's see if that gap now starts to come down over the remaining 20 laps.
And Esteban Ocon could bring these drivers with him as well, with a little bit of slipstream, so we could see absolute insane battles towards the end of the race. Well, looking at the lead at the moment, 3-second gap between Nicholas Longuet and Thomas Neubauer, with Adrian in P3. I'm not going to get my calculator out at this moment in time because I'll be here for a fortnight trying to work it all out. It can all change in this race. We have 23 laps in this race. We're only on the 3rd lap at the moment, and you can see the gap there between P1 and P2. There's a bit of a gap between P3 and P4 as well. In fact, P2... Adrian is going for the move on Thomas Neubauer here, down the inside. It's a right-hander next, so should have the inside line here, into the braking zone, gets the move done. Is he going to go out wide? Oh, a little bit, but does keep that position for now. Great move there. Oh, ran a bit wide on the last corner. Thomas Neubauer comes back into P2. Cracking a little bit of action there between these drivers, and a little bit of a penalty there as well for Adrian. Ran a bit too wide there on the last corner.
Yeah, just great to see these drivers battling through the final 2 corners of this circuit, which, as you'll know, is typically an overtaking zone, but these drivers are making it an overtaking zone. Thomas Neubauer manages to keep the lead for now. I have a sneaky feeling that that's not the end of it.
No, it's not, and Almeido's going to come into play, and behind Almeido, Esteban Ocon, who is in clean air at the moment, so we'll be able to try and catch these guys, especially if they start fighting. It could turn into a 4-way battle for that P2 spot. But it's not quite P1, because P1 is miles ahead there. Unfortunately, we've just lost a driver there. But even so, we continue with the racing here as Nicholas comes through that right-hander. Settled down at the moment, Nicholas. A little bit of breathing space there.
Yeah, let's see. The gap's been actually stable to P2, which is interesting. I thought he would start to run away with it, but it's still at 3.5 seconds, the gap between P1 and P2. It looks like it's coming down actually, but it seems to be stable around this 3.1 to 3.5 second mark. So we might not have a leader running away. This action may still be still go on for the rest of this race.
I'd say it's coming down still here, you know.
It looks like it is now, yeah. It's now that Thomas Neubauer's got some free track, do you think?
Yeah, now not battling. Potentially we could... I mean, imagine the finale being a 5-way fight for the lead on the final lap. That would be the dream scenario. We haven't scripted this, folks. We have not scripted this. We are just hoping. As that gap drops at under 3 seconds now, we jump to the P3 battle where Almeido's actually got past Adrian in all of that. One thing I do actually want to look at is what happened with Ocon.
Esteban Ocon ran massively wide coming out of the final corner there. Picks up a 1.5 second penalty for his trouble as he actually went so wide that he cut over the grass.
Wow.
That's going to end up costing him time now from the dirty tyres, and he's going to have to get rid of that penalty at some point.
He is indeed. Gets rid of some of it right there. One thing I do want to look at though is Esteban's move earlier on. I wonder if we do have that on the replay. So here we go, Esteban down the inside of the right-hander here, 3 wide into that corner and nailed the move to perfection there. You cannot, I have never seen a move like that before. Esteban Ocon, round of applause. What a move that was to gain 2 positions on that last section. That is unbelievable effort there.
So just a reminder then, we've got a slightly longer race here, about 35 minutes. Our first race was 30 minutes, slightly more points on offer, but there's still no pit strategy. So this is a cold, hard race for the full 35 minutes until the finish line. Something tells me that they're your favourite types of races.
They are, man. I love sprint races where, well, you have to care a little bit about the tyres in this one. It's still times 1 and the fuel's still times 1. So if you burn up those tyres too much, your car might get a bit slidey. But yeah, sprint races are all the rage because you just go flat out. You try your best. Speaking of trying your best, P2, there's a big old fight now. It's a three-way. Thomas Neubauer, Almeida and Adrian are very, very close as through the first corner they go. And these liveries as well. Look at these liveries. These look awesome.
Absolutely fantastic, all designed by GT Alex within a space of a few days. He's done a really good job on them considering the short notice he had.
Superb, and talking of superb, Almeida does a superb move into turn 2. What a move that was, nailed the braking. Absolutely spot on. Now the question is, are we going to see some teamwork here or are we going to see fighting? Let's see what Thomas Neubauer does here. Goes to the left hand side here. Looks
like a bit of a bump draft. Looks like there was a little bit of a bump draft there, so I don't know if he's going to file in behind him. And interestingly enough, even though there's been battling, the gap to Nicholas is still stable at that exact 3.1 second mark. Now that Almeida's got past, it seems to be coming down rapidly.
Interesting. So it'd be nice to see some smart driving here. You know, help each other along, catch up to the leader. Remember, leader gets the winner gets 30 points in this one. 30 points is more than you got in the first race, and gets you way up there in terms of the standings if you can get that. And everybody will want it here. I think anybody here at the moment of these three drivers could win this whole event.
Something extremely interesting I've noticed: the gap. Ocon's gap to the leader is not really coming down here. It's been stable at the high end of 8 seconds for a while. It seems like he's struggling a lot more with this combo than he was in the RSO1 at Spa.
Oh wow, but you never know with the fighting that potentially could happen later on in the race. We could see it all just suddenly change and drop a lot there. As we see, Almeida runs a little bit wide there on the turn 1 exit, and has got a penalty as well for that. It's just gone up to 1.5 seconds. So, you know, the off-track penalties, you know, cutting the course are working here very nicely, which is awesome to see. GT Sport very good with that. As through the right-hander we go. And Thomas Neubauer right behind Almeida here. Look at that. You can't get much closer.
Yeah, let's see if he challenges or whether he stays in behind with the bump draft. It looks like he's going to bump draft. Yeah, definitely working together to catch the leader here.
Yeah, it's down to 2.7 seconds, so that gap is coming down. So we could see some fighting very, very soon. In terms of fighting, I thought Esteban was being in a battle there with DePilo, but it's just a bit of one of those images where it looks a bit closer than it actually is there. So let's jump back to that P2 battle between Almeida, Thomas Neubauer, and Adrian David there.
Yeah, let's see if this spices up. It looks like they're all willing to work together at the moment, but if we remember race 1, they were working together originally, and then somewhere halfway along the race that got thrown out the window. So let's see how that plays out.
I don't know, we're still not sure why it got thrown out the window, to be fair, and it'd have been nice to actually find out that. Maybe we can find out very soon, because
you know, like when you're in the heat of the moment on track, sometimes you just want to get past. Sometimes you get a little bit impatient, but your judgment in the heat of the moment is not always correct, and it can end up costing you.
That is very, very, very true. In fact, Almeida's actually made a little bit of a gap here, so I'm assuming Thomas Neubauer had a little mistake there. That gap down to 2 seconds now. It's
charging
closing
down Nicholas, and once he gets another half a second, he's going to be in slipstream range, and then all hell's going to break loose, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well, and I think that may bring in Ocon, and it may bring in DePilo as well. In terms of the grid order, it'd be worthwhile going through it. So we have Nicholas currently in P1 there, Nicholas Longuet. And then in P2 is Prima Almeida. P3, Thomas Neubauer. P4 for Adrian David. P5 for Esteban Ocon. Let's get rid of some of those penalties when we get into the thick of the action. DePilo just runs a little bit wide there in P6. Down in P7 we have Movie Cars Central. That was our pole sitter. P8 we have Donald Renault there. P9 we have Vitality Robbie there. Going through the right-hander. And then in P10 we have Lorraine Hogan. And then in P11, we have Brooks. Brooks was very excited about this race. Struggling a little bit here, but we'll see if Brooks can catch up to the other two drivers throughout this race. Now, back to that battle for the lead now, because it's under 2 seconds, that gap, and it is still closing here as we head towards turn 1. Into the braking zone we go. Anybody going to run wide this time through the right-hander? No, they all get it.
To get that 1.5 second radius, and then he's going to start catching significantly faster. Down to 1.7 now. He keeps coming down. I think with the next half lap, he's going to be in that slipstream range.
Yeah, I mean, if Almeida nails this hairpin here, the right-hander, or semi-hairpin, I think he'll be in it. Let's see what happens. No, Nicholas pulls away there, so doesn't nail it, actually loses out.
Similar to the RS01 that we had earlier, ton of downforce on this car, but a 3.5 litre V6 powering it. Once it gets into that slipstream range, the aero drag is going to pull the car towards, like, significantly.
It's a very large engine in this car for the size of the car as well, so It's got absolute power and very little weight in it, just downforce and power. It's an absolute rapid machine, this Renault. Unbelievable machine to race, to be fair, and it's nice to see it in action here at the Red Bull Ring.
It's one of the most beginner-friendly cars in the game because the crazy amount of mechanical grip that you've got when driving it.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear that as well, because we do have some beginners here. We mentioned it earlier on in the show. We have beginners, first-timers, only just installed the game, and they're still racing, and they're still having fun. Remember, this is all about having fun, and we're about to have some fun very soon, because it looks like Adrian is making a move on Thomas Neubauer here as they head towards turn 1, but I think Thomas Neubauer is going to have a bit of slipstream here, and indeed, Adrian David just pulls out of that one for now, stays in P4.
The slipstream, the saviour of Thomas Neubauer now, and we could have the same case again, but it looks like Thomas Neubauer is actually slipping out of the slipstream from Almeida, so this time the move might be on. Decent overlap to the outside, but he is going to have to hang it around the outside. Oh, Thomas Neubauer a little bit deep on the brakes there, seems to close him off a bit on exit, but now, well, I don't know.
Keeps that position for now. They are out of the slipstream of the car in front because Almeida has caught up to Nicholas in all of this as well. That's under a second. So the fight for the victory is going to happen. Oh, a little bit of a move there by Adrian. Gets the move done down the inside. What a move that was. That was very late on the brakes.
That looked like a revenge move because he was pushed out a little bit wide coming out of turn 3. So he looked like he wanted to push him out wide a little bit in retaliation there, but it was ultimately a fair move. Both cars stayed on the track, so the position switch once again. While they're doing this though, they're losing time to P1 and P2. They need to cut it out really if they want to remain in this race.
I was going to say that they really need to start working together here. It's all right fighting for P3, but don't you really want to fight for P number 1? Because at the moment they're losing out on that battle, and Almeida is catching up to Nicholas at a fair pace of knots here. Into the right hander we go.
Oh, minor contact there, which just forced one car wide. Doesn't look like it was intentional at all. Looks like he just clipped his rear quarter going for the inside on the braking zone. As we said before, those last 2 corners, not usually ripe overtaking opportunities when you're doing this course.
And Adrian just getting the move done there. Oh, I just flicked away. There we go. Adrian getting the move done there into turn number 1. So up into P3.
I think there's some bad blood brewing here between these two. Meanwhile, we've got a move for P1. Oh, thought better of it. He had a look to the inside there, but filed back in behind. But this is going to get real spicy now.
I think you're right here. I was just trying to have a look at the gap for Esteban Ocon. It's 8.4 seconds off the lead, 3.6 from Thomas Neubauer at the moment. But it looks like Esteban is catching up to Thomas Neubauer as we approach the near halfway mark in this race. As we jump towards the lead battle now, Nicholas Longue versus Prima Almeida. These are 2 sim racers, and into the left-hander they go. They're very, very, very close. Oh, goes for the move! Goes for the move! Oh, it doesn't quite work out there, so a little gap.
Almost got that nose to the inside, but didn't have the overlap, so doesn't get it for now. But I feel like the way that he's been all over the back of that Renault of Nicholas, it's only a matter of time. Goes for it again into these final 2 corners, which is not where you expect moves. And Nicholas actually backs out of it, realizes he's not going to hold it, maybe looking for a cutback, or just maybe making sure that P1 and P2 don't lose time to the cars behind here.
Both smart strategies here. Now, Almeida going for that slipstream off the back marker. We are approaching back markers here. That's going to be Brooks in P11 at this moment. There you go. You can see that here. Into the turn 1 we go. And they get through there very nicely indeed.
Yeah, the blue flag's being waved. I think they're going to clear Brooks extremely quickly here.
They are indeed. I'm just getting the gap back. It's 3.4 seconds to Adrian. And I think Esteban Ocon is getting closer and closer to that battle for P3.
Yeah, slowly. It is coming down slowly though. He was originally at 9 seconds, I believe. It's now 8 seconds. So he is closing in, but once he gets into slipstream range, he'll be able to close in a bit quicker.
Yeah. Any moves going to happen here by Nicholas? Not quite. So Almeida's got some serious pace here at this race, it looks like.
He had some serious pace in both races, but this one seems to be meeting his preference.
Yeah, that is also very true indeed. We just jumped to the P3 battle, which has a 1 second gap now, and then Esteban Ocon is 3.3 behind Thomas Neubauer at this moment in time. DePilo was catching Esteban for a while, but I think DePilo has dropped off a little bit there from Esteban, and then Movie Car Central then is 31 seconds behind. So you have a big battle there. In fact, is there a battle for P7? There is indeed. It's between Movie Car Central and Donald Renault. Let's have a look into the braking zone we go here. No
Donald Renault closing in significantly in the braking zone there. Took a 10th out of him just in the braking zone alone before they even got to the corner.
Did indeed. Let's see if any move is done here. I am just paying attention to the... Oh, Movie Car Central. Oh, just a bit too deep there. And spins out on that left-hander. That gives Donald Renault that P7 position.
That grass will get you. Every sim racing will tell you that grass will get you.
That grass will get you indeed, and it did bite very hard there. So our battle for P1 still line astern here. Oh, I say line astern. Nicholas has just gone for the move down the inside there into turn number 2 and is not quite going to have to run there. So is looking to try and get that P1 position back as they head down towards the right-hander here. Is Almeida going to defend? Looks initially to defend. Nicholas goes, I'll have that space on the inside. Goes down the inside here in the braking zone. Side by side. Lovely bit of racing here as they accelerate out the corner now. They're still side by side. Nicholas has just got the edge here as we head towards the left-hander now. Prima Almeida going to be on the inside for this corner and still keeps our position. Lovely bit of racing side by side there. Excellent stuff. Almeida keeps that position from Nicholas Longay for now. Further back, Adrian and Thomas Neubauer. They're close again. And they've actually closed the gap a little bit to the leaders with that action as well. So potentially they could start working together. Although it did look like it got a little bit heated earlier on with the racing. So we will find out.
What a fantastic display of racing through Sector 2 that was. Pretty much too wide through 3 corners straight. Really impressive stuff.
It was. I mean, you would think these guys have raced GT Sport every single day, and they certainly don't. And just superb, you know, good space given, side by side through all those corners, and just clean, lovely racing. Exactly what you want to see in a fun competition like this.
And before all that kicked off, I was about to say that it looked like Almeida was pulling away from Nicholas, and then before I knew it, they were side by side for an entire sector.
Exactly. I was like, oh, it's line astern, and then suddenly turn number 2 came, and Nicholas was like, I'm having this. But speaking of turn 2, we are back there again. This time, Prima Almeida does keep that position down. Gets his wheels spinning on the curb there. Losing a lot of time here. That gap is dropping further back. Thomas Neubauer and Adrian having a bit of a scrap as well as we head down towards the right-hander here. Is Nicholas going to go for it again?
This is quickly turning into a feud, this.
Not this time. And Thomas Neubauer and Adrian just runs a bit deep there. Let's see if we can have a look at that move by Thomas Neubauer. We did hopefully catch that on replay. So into the right-hander here. What actually happened? Oh, Adrian ran too deep there. Ran too deep. Thomas Neubauer said, thank you very much. I'll have that. And Adrian ended up with a bit of tyres, dirt on the tyres as well.
You can really tell there's a bit of a grudge starting to form. They're, you know, extending the track, racing harder against each other, giving each other a bump where necessary. You can really see that this is starting to become a bit of a rivalry on track.
Everybody wants to be on that podium. Everybody wants to be there. As we continue at the last corner now. And Almeida pulling a little bit of a gap now to Nicholas. It's 6/10 of a second. Actually has the fastest lap there, 1:32.2.
And do you know what? Esteban Ocon not really catching right now. The gap seems to be stable to the leaders.
Interesting stuff, this. Very interesting stuff. We still have a huge amount of the race to go, though. So anything can still happen in this race. Penalties, spins. We saw a spin earlier on. It can all still happen as Nicholas pulls in that gap again towards the right-hander here. Look how close, under the brake in there, and leaves the corner. It could be very close. Oh, Primo Almeida gets all sorts of wheel spin there. Under 2/10 now, that gap. Going to have to defend for his life here as we head down towards the right-hander once again. Stays to the right, staying in the middle now this time. Doesn't know where to go. Nicholas decides to take the racing line here, trying to go around the outside. Oh, this would be a cracking move if done. Not quite, just on the marbles there. Has to pull in right behind again.
Yeah, that was ambitious. Didn't have much overlap on the outside. You've got to commend him for sending it, but ended up just overshooting the corner a little bit. Seems to be struggling now to keep the car on the racing line. Maybe driving a little bit too hard, needs to rein it in a little bit.
That could be the case. Maybe tyres overheating there. Racing so hard. We're not too sure at this moment in time. Thomas Neubauer and Adrian are still fighting. Literally, you could just put a blanket over these two. They're literally that close. A tenth of a second separating them. Into the last sector we go.
Just like our first race, the car developing. Tyres getting more worn and the fuel getting lower as the race goes on. So the car does not feel the same now as it did at the start of the race. That might be throwing some drivers off.
Yeah, that is very true. And Esteban is... Oh, it was catching. Has lost out in the last corner there. So I'm going to jump to the leaders now. They're approaching a big battle with back markers here. It's a battle for, I think it's P10. It's Vitality Robbie and Lorraine Hergon. Sorry, my French is atrocious sometimes. I apologise. Oh, Vitality Robbie nearly goes for a spin. Catched it though. Well played with the catch. And speaking of catch, actually, Almeida has broken the slipstream gap.
Yeah, and also now has a slipstream of his own with the back markers. So how the tables turn on that one quickly.
They have indeed. And I wonder whether Nicholas is going to get caught by the drive. Oh, we've got a spinner there.
There's a back
That's
marker
Lorraine.
off.
And Primo Almeida gets past Vitality Robbie there. And then it's going to be up to Nicholas to try and get past. We're going to jump to that P3 battle here because it's still nose to tail between Thomas Neubauer and Adrian David.
This one's been hot and spicy from the start, and I have a feeling with the few remaining laps that we've got, it's going to remain spicy. These two do not want to let each other get any sort of ground. They don't seem to be too bothered about P1 and P2 at this point. They're just interested in beating each other at this point.
They are catching P2 though. That gap has come down.
I think there's some mistakes coming out of Nicholas though, like I said, possibly overdriving the car because he's completely lost touch with Almeida at this point.
That could be happening here. And if that's the case, we could have a big fight for P2. Now, if there is a big fight for P2, that's obviously still a lot of points on offer. I mean, could that affect the overall results? I think it might do, you know?
It could do, yeah. We'll have to see at the end of the race when we get all those points calculated. It's anyone's guess at the moment.
I mean, if you think about Esteban Ocon won the first race. So if Esteban gets involved in that P2 battle, and then suddenly I think there's going to be a bigger gap than 5 points between Primo Almeida and Esteban in the first race. Suddenly, with the, you know, it could be anybody's show here. We're not actually 100% sure.
I think Almeida is probably the favourite to win in his current position, considering that he's going to be taking home 30 points for this victory if he can hold it.
That is very true.
Remember that Esteban only got 25 points for his victory due to the shorter race.
Yes, that is also true. Oh, wow. I wish I had a calculator with me right now to start working it out and giving all the info on the fly, but I don't unfortunately have it. So it's all guesswork at the moment. That gap between Nicholas and Thomas Neubauer, though, down to 2.2 seconds. It was 2.6 earlier on. And in fact, going through that left and right-hander, it's going to drop under 2 seconds now.
It seems like Nicholas has practiced a lot with a full fuel tank and with fresh tyres, but he seems to be struggling a lot now as the car's developed.
So your point is coming into play now with that car just changing throughout the race. We do have, how many laps is that? 6 laps left. So let's see what happens in these remaining laps. 1.9 seconds to gap. Remember, slipstream, 1.5 seconds. The minute you get in that slipstream, you can be dragged really close to the car in front as we come through the first corner. And that gap is staying about the same there in that first corner.
Its main hottest stuff on track is still this battle for P3. 18 laps later, it's still going on.
I think Adrian David is pushing Thomas Neubauer a little bit here in terms of thinking about the future of the race, forgetting about...
I definitely spotted a bump draft there, yeah, going into turn 3 for certain. And it looks like he's lining up for it again. So they are working together now to try and catch Nicholas. Maybe they've both spotted the fact that Nicholas is struggling a little bit now.
Yep, smart racing, and we talked about that earlier on. The real racing drivers going, okay, yeah, I've got to race smart here. I have a chance of P2 here. Let's forget about the fighting for now. I'll fight you at the end. Let's go for it. Let's push for that P2. That's more points in the bag then.
Yeah, and that gap's still coming down, about to be in slipstream range. 1.7 seconds currently.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is getting tight. Now, I am just going to try and find the standings, just so I can remember. What on earth happened in the first race again? So it was... Okay, so it does get interesting now, you know. If Adrian David gets into P2, I think it gets very, very, very tight, you know. So there was a 5-point gap between Esteban and Adrian. And then it's a 3-point gap then to Almeida. So Almeida's 8 points off Esteban.
Right.
So there's some maths for you. Quick maths and all that. Let's see what happens. It's 1.6 seconds now, the gap, as we head towards turn 1 once again. What's the gap to Esteban here? 3.4 seconds. That hasn't changed much, but I suspect that will change when the fights start happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian David needs to get his car past Thomas Neubauer here if he wants to be in the fight for the championship.
He does. He really, really does. As we come through turn 2, it's 1.6 seconds at the moment. As we leave that corner, Nicholas has had a better corner there, potentially feeling the pressure now from 3rd place and 4th place here as they head down towards the right-hander now. And still line astern through that corner.
Very close on the brakes there. So
oh!
Adrian David hit the brakes perfectly, and he, in the entire braking zone, was only like a quarter of a car length behind Thomas Neubauer, really pushing now, and it seems like he's trying to push Thomas Neubauer along. Might run out of patience soon, as it looks like he's been within the 2/10 range of that car ahead for a long time now.
Yeah, he definitely has. I mean, as I said earlier, you could put a blanket over these two. Just share the same car cover. That's all you had to do. But as we head down towards the end of the lap now, the right-hander, 1.7 seconds. It drops to 1.6 seconds. Ooh, back up to 1.7. Into the right-hander we go again.
Do you want to know something incredibly interesting? Esteban Ocon is now trailing away from the cars ahead.
Now, that is very interesting. 3.3 seconds now. It was 3.2 earlier on, so he is losing out here now. 3.4.
The gap to the leader, he's lost a second.
Wow, Prima Almeida is actually dominating this race now. Really got into the rhythm and absolutely flying. Now, in terms of the slipstream gap, we are very, very close to this slipstream gap now as we approach the end of the race. It's 1.5 seconds. There we go. We're just in it. It's whether Thomas Neubauer can stay in it now. Through the right-hander we go.
Needs the corner exit here. Seems to lose out on corner exit.
Just lost it.
To Nicholas. So just outside that slipstream range, teasing him.
This is an absolute tease. It's just, you know, it's right there. You can feel it, but you just can't have it yet. It's that close as we come through the right-hander. 1.5. Look at that. It is so close.
At the rate that they've been closing, you're going to have to imagine he's going to have the slipstream coming into turn 1.
For sure, for sure. Now, I do notice, I thought I saw a battle further back there. Was it P6? No, it wasn't. It was just Dipilo overtaking a back marker there. Let's jump back down to that P2 battle. I'm going to call it the P2 battle now because they are so close. They are so close. They're in once again. Let's see what happens now. Can they stay within there? Thomas Neubauer and Adrian David. Remember, the car changes in that slipstream. Remember, you get dirty air. You've got to then control how the car handles because you can have less downforce, less air pushing down on that wing there. So you have to change your driving style a little bit when behind the car. We've seen Adrian having to drive very differently to Thomas Neubauer here. And you'll see that as we get into that slipstream zone again. But they're just on the very edge of it at the moment.
David just all over the back of Thomas Neubauer over this last lap. You can see that he keeps bumping him into braking zones because he's getting back close.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be time for a move soon as there's only a couple laps to go.
So coming through the right-hander. Yeah, Nicholas pulling away a little bit now.
Should come as no surprise. Almeida, fastest lap of the race and currently the fastest man on track.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of fastest man on track, Esteban Ocon, that gap has really come down now.
might be in this battle for P3 or even P2 by the end of it.
That will change how this show finishes up, really, if Esteban does get involved in this. 5 drivers then with the potential of winning the show at the moment. They are Prima Almeida, Nicholas Longuet, Thomas Neubauer, Adrian David, and Esteban Ocon. So it's going to get very tight here. What's that gap now? It's 1.5 seconds again. That gap has been going up and down like nobody's business. And into the right-hander we go. So we're about to head on to the penultimate lap here at the Red Bull Ring in these Renault Megane Trophy cars. Who is going to be your overall victor here at the Red Bull Ring and your overall victor in the show? We are about to find out over the next 2 laps, and a big push there by Adrian heading towards turn number 1. It's the smallest that gap has ever been. Through the right-hander they go. And
He keeps struggling on the corner exits, it looks like, and he just keeps losing out of that slipstream radius. He might just have a whiff of it now. The gap seems to be coming down as a straight. Gets another bump from David as they go into turn 3.
It's a big bump that as well, isn't it? Because that dropped it down to 1.3 seconds.
Yeah. But again, the corner exit's weak and he loses it out again.
No, I think they're in. I think they might be in now. He's just got to get used to that car.
It is, yeah.
They are so close. This is a tease for us, never mind the drivers. And they're going, it's there. You can feel it. You can feel it.
We thought they'd be well into slipstream range a long time ago, but it just seems to be slipping out again and again. Seems to be stuck around that 1.5 second mark. David seems to be getting very impatient behind the car of Thomas Neubauer there.
Yeah, Adrian definitely does, but it's 1.3 now, and through they go. And they are definitely in it now. They are definitely in there. Esteban Ocon has actually dropped out a little bit there on the time. Let's find out. We head towards the final lap. Prima Almeida there, coming through the last corner. About to head on to the final lap for the final time here at the Red Bull Ring. Let's see what happens. Having to deal with Movie Car Central there as a back marker. But the gap now, 1.1 seconds. It's dropping now to a second. We're getting closer and closer. Is it 1 lap too late for these drivers? Into turn 1 they go. Nicholas nails it. And does Thomas Neubauer. Thomas does as well. They leave that corner. That gap is still coming down now. They're about to go under the second margin here as they head towards turn 2. Adrian really needs to try and get the move done as well here now, I think, because I don't think they're going to catch Nicholas. We'll have to find out, though. Into the braking zone they go. And do they all survive? No, Thomas Neubauer made a mistake there. Adrian down the inside. Is it going to work? Oh, Thomas Neubauer's going to have dirt on his tyres, though, as they leave that corner. I think Nicholas is safe now. It's all on Adrian and Thomas Neubauer.
That's going to be a critical mistake. We're going to see how much those dirty tyres play into effect. Let's see how deep he ends up going into turn 4. And it's massively deep, and that's opened the door for David.
Oh, Adrian, through he goes. That's unbelievable racing there. Thomas Neubauer just didn't judge the dirt on his tyres effectively enough. Adrian into P3. This is very critical for the overall championship and the overall show here. As we continue now, Nicholas is still in that slipstream. Adrian David is still in the slipstream of Nicholas there as they come through the right-hander here. We've got a lot of cars here. As we head towards the end of the lap here, Prima Almeida, I've just jumped to now, is about to finish the race here. Heading towards the last corner now. Through Prima Almeida goes. And Prima Almeida is going to be your race victor here at the Red Bull Ring. What a showing by Prima Almeida there. Gets rid of the penalty. In P2 is going to be Nicholas Longuet. In P3, Adrian David. P4 there for Thomas Neubauer. P5, Esteban Ocon. As we then go towards P6 now with Depilo. In fact, Adriana's got P2 there. Is that due to penalties from extending the track there?
That's possibly due to penalties, yeah. I can't think of any other way why that would happen.
Oh, wow, this is going to be close. Depilo finishes in P6. In P7, it's going to be Donald Renault.
And that's huge for the championship, right?
That is very huge indeed. I'm not sure how close this is. It is tight as you can make it.
A couple points, whichever way it goes. That is very, very tight. That's the 2 drivers that were well in contention, finishing P1 and P2.
It is. It's going to be very, very close. We're still with Donald Renault at the moment. In the middle of no man's land, really. 40 seconds off Depilo up front. And 30 seconds essentially ahead of Movie Car Central behind. The last car to finish here, I believe. We might have one more car as well. But there's Donald Renault coming across the line. Happy with that P7. We'll see if we can find the remaining car. It's Brooks. Brooks is the last one to cross the line here. And first timer to Gran Turismo. First timer to sim racing. And you heard how much he'd had fun in that first race. Hopefully he's had fun in this second race.
Just showboating for the cameras at this point.
We do have showboating now.
Yeah, just putting on a show now before we wrap up.
Oh, he's going for the reverse finish here. Is Brooks.
Like struggling to control the car in reverse. More difficult to control in reverse, of course, but he's just got to round the final corner now. Let's see if he can do it. Come on, I believe in you. Oversteer there into the barrier. Disaster as he comes through the final corner.
Is it oversteer if it's the front of the car?
I have no idea.
But yes, great to see Brooks having fun all the same. Came P11, but still having fun in this show, which is what it's all about there. They are your final results.
It was a 1 second penalty for track limits for Nicholas, which bumped him down to P3 and gave Adrian David that P2 position. Congrats to Almeida there for an excellent drive. P1 didn't put a foot wrong.
Yeah, indeed. Let's just get those results up for you. There we have it. Prima Almeida, your race victor here from Adrian David there in P2. So close there in terms of, this is why you got to take those penalties. Nicholas Longuet in P3. Thomas Neubauer P4. Esteban Ocon in P5. DePilo P6. Donald Renault in P7. And then we have Movie Car Central in P8. Vitality Robbie P9. Lorraine Hergon in P10. And Brooks in P11. So they're your final race finishers. What a brilliant race, though. What a brilliant race.
Full of surprises as well. That is not the order we expected.
No, it definitely isn't.
It's not the order either of us predicted, really. We didn't expect to see Esteban struggle so much. It turns out the RS01 at Spa suits him much more than this Megane Trophy. But it also might be the fact that this Megane Trophy, being the easier car to drive, other drivers are able to get more out of it.
Yes, exactly. I think that's probably the case as well. But even so, the way that drivers race smart there, Adrian David helping or working together with Thomas Neubauer, especially after a bit of a frisky race to begin with, working together to catch up to Nicholas. And that actually became critical at the end because Adrian got P2.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're waiting to see what that means for the points. But I suspect whoever the winner might be, there's going to be 1 or 2 points in this max.
Exactly. Now, what we're going to do is actually jump to a little bit of an ad break, and then we're going to jump to some more interviews. So we will be back with you very shortly. So we are going to come to you with some race interviews. We first of all have our third place finisher, actually, which is Nicholas Longuet. Hello, Nicholas. How are you? And did you enjoy that race?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm very good. Thank you. And yes, that race was a lot of fun. A lot of pressure from the guys behind. I tried to stay in front for as long as I could. It was a bummer for the penalty at the end. I didn't know it rounded up to a second, so I got pushed down to P3. But overall, I'm happy with how I drove, and I had some great battles with the other drivers.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Were you looking at that one, because obviously it's a 1.5 second gap with the slipstream? Were you looking at that gap going, it's just above? It's just above? Oh no, it's low. It's above? It's low.
Yes, I was looking at it constantly, and it was always hovering around the 1.5 gap. And yeah, well, there's nothing I could do. They were just faster than me.
I mean, we were watching it and we thought it was a right tease, if I'm honest. It really, really was. It was funny just to look at it and just be and like sometimes it'd just go just below it, and then it'd go just above it, and then just below and just above and just below, and we're there going, it's so close. And because Adrian and Thomas were working together to try and catch her, did you even feel a bit more pressure there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I saw the gap was already decreasing every lap by like a tenth or two, and when it was starting to get to the 1.5, I just started pushing even more, and I started to get some stupid penalties. But yeah, I managed to hold them off at the end, and yeah.
That's good. I mean, to be fair, you pulled away at the start. I mean, were you worried at the start about what was going to happen behind? Because obviously there was a lot of fast drivers behind as well. I mean, Esteban Ocon, you had Prima Almeida there as well. Were you worried about that?
Oh yeah, well, my strategy was obviously to try to get the best start ever, so that I could pull as big of a gap as possible before the fast drivers could reach the top positions, because I knew they were gonna catch me eventually. I did get a pretty good start. I was like 3 point something seconds ahead, but it was just a waiting game for them to catch me. Honestly, I couldn't keep up with their pace. Yeah, that was my strategy basically.
Oh, fair dues. Now, how have you found GT Sport? 'Cause I know you're a sim racer anyway. Do you find it tense? I know we've spoken to other drivers who have found it really tense racing in this race. It's been tense, nervous, also fun?
I'd say it's all three, yes. I drive Formula 1. I used to drive a lot of Gran Turismo back in the day with PlayStation 3 with the controller with my dad. So I kind of know how the game works.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very different from F1. It's GT4s was the car, yeah.
Yeah.
Much different physics, much different aerodynamics and all that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to drive, to be honest.
Oh, that is awesome to hear. And thank you so much for racing as well. It's been absolutely fun. I hope you've had an enjoyable event. Do you have any last words to anybody out there who's watching?
Get Gran Turismo and start racing, because it's a really fun game.
That is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Nicholas. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. So we just had Nicholas there with the interview. Good interview again. Get Gran Turismo. You heard it. I would get Gran Turismo. It's an absolutely epic game to play. You've seen some of the fun and frantic action you can have in this game. It's been absolutely brilliant. And I think we are about ready to see the overall standings. So just give me one moment to flick over to that. Fingers crossed it all works. And there we have it. Prima Almeida is your overall winner for the Renault Vitality GT Sports Show. And then Adrian David there in P2. 3 points separated. 3 points separated those two drivers. And Esteban Ocon comes in as your final podium finisher. How close is that, Lewis?
Incredibly close. We didn't expect it to be this close. You know, we thought we had a clear pick for the winner. Turns out anything but.
Exactly. I mean, I will say, you know, my pick did get P2 anyway, so you know, I was fairly up there. Oh, but it was absolutely fantastic racing, and we saw smart racing. Prima Almeida though, just absolutely just dominated that second race, really. So yes, we now have an interview with Adrian David. How are you, Adrian? How do you like that race?
Was a very nice first experience in Esports. Yeah, definitely very happy. It's been a very nice battle with Esteban and with Almado until the very last race. So yeah, super happy. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Now, we were watching you race very hard there with Thomas Neubauer, and we've already got a bit frisky initially, and then we saw some really smart racing there. Was it always your goal to just push Thomas along a little bit to try and get that P2 spot?
Well, at the beginning, our strategy was to catch Nicolas, but I did a mistake, so I tried to overtake him, but I didn't want to overtake him, so we lost a lot of time. And then we calmed down, and I pushed him again to catch Nicolas. And in the last lap, I think we were less than 1 second away from Nicolas, so we did a pretty good job considering we were starting from the back of the grid. So yeah, it was a very nice race with Thomas. Unfortunately, he did a little mistake in the last lap, so I managed to overtake him and get that P2.
And we saw that as well. In terms of the overall racing, because obviously you raced in both races, have you? We mentioned to Esteban how you know, real racing drivers, they get nervous potentially, or they have done on in other sim events. Have you been nervous in these races?
Definitely, yes. To me, it's very similar to real racing because when you have someone behind, you have a lot of pressure on your head because if you do a little mistake, you can lose a lot. So yeah, for me, it's very similar to the racing that I'm doing this season. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear that because I know a lot of people will look at it and go, "Oh, they're only just saying that," but everybody's saying it. When you're on that grid, at the end of the day, you're on a grid with other drivers, and you want to win, don't you? You don't want to come second; you want to win.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm feeling tired now, to be honest.
That is awesome to hear. I want to thank you so much for your racing because you've been absolutely fantastic racing in this event. You've shown some great racing, great overtakes, and it has been absolutely superb.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. So that's Adrian David there, your second place finisher. And we are about to speak with the race winner, I believe. Just give us one moment. And yeah, unbelievable race that. Now, Lewis, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Again, a real racing driver saying nerves and tense, and it's awesome to hear, right?
Yeah, it sounds like again everyone's had a great time. So we've accomplished what we set out to do, really. But yeah, no, we've had some really great racing between some really talented drivers, and now I just want to see more.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You want to see more and more and more. And it's been good racing as well. It's been nice to see such good racing. And the whole point of the show is to have fun. And we have had fun. And that's the whole point of it. And it's been absolutely fantastic. We are just waiting for the race winner at the moment. The French have stolen them. And the French commentary, that is. And we should get them shortly. Is there anything you'd like to add in terms of the racing?
It was just so interesting to see how the two races were different. Different drivers' strengths coming out at different circuits and different types of cars. I expected there to be a bit of a difference, but it turns out we got two entirely different races, and that wasn't all caused by the reverse grid. Esteban Ocon, towards the end of that race, was actually getting gapped by the leader.
Yes, that's a very good point, actually, because we did expect just the same result essentially to happen because we've got such a mixture of driving skills, but it didn't. And the different cars, the good Renault cars that were brought in, the RS01 and the Megane Trophy, brought some exciting racing and different racing in both situations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an excellent evening of racing. There's nothing more to add, really.
Now, speaking of excellent racing, we have the overall winner here, Prima Almeida.
Hey.
Congratulations, first of all. How are you feeling?
Oh, I feel good, really good. It was a lot of fun. The guys were incredible fast, so that was just a big fun to race here with the guys like Esteban, Adrien, and the other. So I'm really happy for the result, as you can see.
Yeah.
And so that's it. Yes.
Yeah, we can hear in your voice you're very, very happy with that. In terms of the race, it sort of went to plan for you essentially. You managed to grab hold of that slipstream of Nicholas at that point, get by, and then you just accelerated away. Happy days all the way to your victory. Was that always the game plan, just to try and get into that final slipstream and just break away as fast as you can?
Yes. So yes, I was trying to keep the slipstream of Nicolas. That was my goal for the first middle of the race. Then I just want to push really hard, as hard as I can. And yes, he was very clean racer. That was an honor to race with him. And so yes, I'm really happy to overtake him and then win. That's what I want to.
No, it's good to hear. One thing we did spot as well, and we just thought it was amazing, and the best example of what sim racing is all about was when you and Nicholas were side by side, and you were side by side for a while. It was unbelievable to watch. It was superb.
Oh.
Real congrats for that.
Really? Oh, thanks a lot. Yes.
Yeah, it was really good to see. Really good to see.
Yeah.
Lewis, have you got any questions for Prima Almeida?
Yeah, I just want to add on to what you said. That was some of the best side-by-side racing I've seen for a while. The entirety of Sector 2, you guys were side-by-side without even touching once. Incredible.
Yes, that was incredible. Yes, that was really close. Yes, we were really close. I tried to manage the car to not push him on the exit, and it's what he did too. So that was really fair, and that's what we want to see, by the way.
And how do you feel when I tell you at the end of that race you were gapping Esteban Ocon?
What? Can you repeat, please?
At the end of that race, you were extending your lead over Esteban Ocon. He was falling away from you. How does that feel?
Oh, I feel good. Yes, Esteban is such a big racer on the real life and also on the virtual life. So beat him on Gran Turismo is so exciting because we can think that he isn't as good as in Formula One, but he is really fast here. So I was so happy. Now Esteban invite me here. So beat him with his invitation. So I was really exciting and really happy for this.
It's good to hear that. Primo Almeida, we want to thank you so much again for the epic racing, and congratulations on the win. It's been absolutely superb, and thank you for joining us here on the commentary.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. So that's it, everybody. We have had some fantastic racing here, and I want to just conclude now in saying a big thank you to all the partners of this event. So I would like to thank Renault DP World F1 Team, Renault Sport, the whole Renault Group, Team Vitality and Renault Vitality, PlayStation France, Race Clutch and IGTL. I want to thank you for watching. I also want to thank Lewis for being my co-commentator here. Thank you so much for setting up the lobbies and being my co-commentator.
Thank you, Tidge, for carrying me through the broadcast as well. It's always much appreciated. But yeah, I've had excellent fun here tonight. Let's do it again sometime.
Exactly, let's do it again. Thank you so much to the racers as well for bringing us some fantastic action. But that's going to be it from us. Everybody, thanks so much, and we'll see you with the next one.
On the road I'm a master, I redo the cadaster. I can always go faster, I'm a Mac the monster. On the road I'm a centaur, the real Mac the mentor. You've been needing a doctor, I'm a Mac the monster. Drugstore. On the road I'm a T-Rex, I dance myself out of the apex. Give me my paycheck, the money I won when I stole the Olympics. Now you're impressed, now you're obsessed with me, aren't you? Here's the address, you can send your regrets to. I'm a centaur, the real Mac the mentor. You've been needing a doctor, I'm the Mac the monster. On the road I'm a centaur, the real Mac the mentor. You've been needing a doctor, I'm the Mac the monster. I'm the Mac the monster, I'm the Mac the monster. I'm the Mac the monster, I'm the Mac the monster. I'm the monster.